Through to Noyensfontein Road, the N2 inbound from Khayelitsha looking fairly slow towards the airport runway, and no traffic lights out at Somerset West, that really busy junction N2 and Victoria Street. It's likely to snarl things up quite badly over the next couple of hours. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
It's a very good morning to you. Welcome to your sports news. We'll start with a winner. The Proteas collected a crucial win to kickstart their T20 World Cup against Canada. And we also bring you news from the Premier League with the Bafana defender Siyabonga Ngezana facing a race against time for the World Cup. The details just...
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 6. Today is Tuesday, the 10th of February, 2026. Live and direct from our studios in Radio Park at Radio Park Building here at SABC HQ in Auckland Park in Johannesburg, to wherever you're hearing us from this morning. In every city, in every town, Dorpi, Township, Kasi, Village and Hamlet, from the highways to the byways, from the hinterland to the heartland. Good morning to you and welcome to it. The Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief on SAFM. We are on 104 to 107. Coming up on the show, among some of the stories we will cover for you, for months, he has loomed large as one of the ad hoc committee's most anticipated witnesses. And now Paul O'Sullivan is set to take the hot seat before that committee, probing those allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in July last year. The question that the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi threw at the country, whether Paul O'Sullivan is a quote-unquote a clean man or an agent, right, will likely be tested in the most public way yet when the forensic investigator appears before Parliament today and tomorrow. So this comes after Mkhwanazi used the same platform to cast deep suspicion on O'Sullivan's role in policing and intelligence matters, while some MPs, and it's been quite clear, have made it clear that their hostility towards him, and you will have heard it over the last few months. Comments from various parties within that ad hoc committee, and just that the sense of wanting to hear from this Paul O'Sullivan character, and a lot of them questioning the role that he plays in policing and how he tracks issues within that environment, and wanting, you could tell there's a hunger to hear from him. So finally that hunger will be met with an appearance by Paul O'Sullivan, which will happen today. So we'll talk to the chairperson of the ad hoc committee that's investigating those allegations. Mulapi Soviet Lekhanyane will be my guest at 7:10. Then we'll turn to an issue that we have covered quite extensively over the last few months. Remember that multi-billion rand blunder that NERSA made. At some point we said it was 54 billion rand, I think it was. But actually it turns out it might be even more than that. But the bottom line is there are now warnings from people, including the energy analyst Chris Yelland, that the issue of electricity theft and non-payment for electricity and services will likely rise following NERSA's approval of steep electricity price increases over the next 2 years. You will remember that NERSA has now approved electricity tariff increases of 8.76% for this year. That's coming up in April of this year, and an 8.83%, almost 9% in April next year. Both of these increases are significantly higher compared to what it was supposed to be before this blunder was picked up. For instance, this year we were meant to have an increase in the tariff in the region of 5.3%. Now we're getting 8.76%. Next year, we were meant to get an increase of some 6.19%, but instead, we're in for 8.83%. So the regulator says the increases are necessary after it miscalculated Eskom's tariffs for the 2025-2026, as well as the 2027 and 2028 financial years. The hikes come after the regulator admitted to errors in its original tariff calculations, a move that Yellen has described as a serious regulatory failure with far-reaching economic consequences. Doesn't need deep analysis to really understand what has happened here in terms of the impact that it has on one of the key drivers of household and business costs, electricity. So we'll speak to Chris Yelland at 8:10 about these increases and the warnings that he's sounding around the potential for a rise in non-payment as well as electricity theft. So we'll talk to him at 8:10. Then lastly, another issue that's a running theme, the theme of irresponsible and harmful gambling, is never far off in our daily public discourse. What with the exponential rise in gambling in general and the problematic gambling in particular. So, as you know, the State of the Nation address, which is happening this Thursday, by the way, always provides the opportunity to shine the spotlight on areas of policy that need urgent attention. And the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation is doing exactly that, urging government to urgently tighten regulations that govern online gambling, advertising, and gaming in the country. The National Gambling Act, we're told, which is from the year 2004, we're told has not kept pace with the growth of digital gambling platforms. And we're told that it leaves significant gaps that expose children, young adults to addiction, financial harm, and mental health risks. So among some of the proposals that the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation is putting forward will be issues to do with mandatory identity verification measures, including facial recognition and income declarations, in line with international best practice, we are told. So all of those are some of the interventions that the Responsible Gambling Foundation is calling for. At about 8:45 this morning, we'll speak to Lebogang Sioheng, who is the advocacy and communications and prevention manager at the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation. Morning brief team, to your stations please for the takeoff. And Musa is good to go with your half-hourly news updates across the 3 hours. Zaikan confirms she's got your sport covered. And it's all systems go with Ndauleng Lechela, who will be tracking the news that affects your and other people's pockets with her updates on business and the economy as well as the markets. And we're getting a thumbs up from Sipho Mantula as well, who will take you on a quick whistle-stop tour across the African continent with his ever-popular the Africa Update, as well as the historical archive that he always brings forth on a daily basis. And that's coming up at about 20 to 7 this morning. Your calls 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. This is the morning brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Malok, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloko is in the building.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the morning brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Right, so no morning brief from Melissa Puta this morning. She's taking a well-deserved break. But I do have your weather, though, and there are 2 warnings. In fact, there's one warning that has come through from the South African Weather Service, and then there's an advisory. The warning is a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over the northeastern parts of the Northern Cape, the western parts of the Free State, extreme western parts of the Northwest, southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the northern and eastern parts of the Eastern Cape. That yellow level 2 warning is for severe thunderstorms leading to localized flooding and large amounts of small hail. Then I have an advisory for you, and it is for hot and humid weather that will result in extremely uncomfortable conditions in places along the Eastern Cape's south coast and adjacent interior, as well as the eastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. The rest of your weather will be looking like this. Pretoria, Johannesburg and Vereeniging, all of them partly cloudy. In Pretoria, the minimum will be 18, the maximum 32. Johannesburg, 16 to 29. Vereeniging will be 17 to 31. Mbombela, Polokwane will also be partly cloudy, and the minimum in Mbombela will be 19 and the maximum 30. Polokwane, 17 to 28. Mahikeng will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 18 to 32. Vryburg will be partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 18 to 32. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 17 to 25. Same conditions in Kimberley, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 19 to 30. Uppington, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 35. Cape Town will be partly cloudy, 21 to 27. All right, my mouse has stopped moving. George will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 20 to 25. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 21 to 28. East London will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 30. Durban, partly cloudy. East London actually should have said Gugompo City, actually, because that's now been gazetted. So let me say it again. Gugompo City will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 30. Durban, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 24 to 32. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy, 24 to 36. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 36.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
20 minutes after 6. Portugal seems to have chosen continuity over confrontation, electing moderate socialist Antonio José Seguro as its next president after a bruising campaign fought against the rise of the far right. Seguro won a decisive second-round victory over the Chega party leader André Ventura, securing just under two-thirds of the vote despite an election disrupted by deadly storms and flooding. The result was shaped by an unusual cross-party effort, with figures from across the political spectrum rallying behind Seguro to block Ventura's path to the largely ceremonial but influential presidency of Portugal. Ventura, whose anti-immigration message dominated the campaign, fell short, but his party still recorded its strongest ever national showing. So let's unpack all of this. I'm joined by Itumeleng Makgetla, who is a political analyst at the University of Pretoria. Good morning to you, Itumeleng, and thank you for your time. So the theme seems to be about the rise of the right, center-right to far-right politics, especially in Europe. What just happened in Portugal?
Good morning, Mr. Simelane, and to your listeners. I think the rise of the center and hard right, as it were, in Europe in general, Western Europe in particular, is attributed to particularly the centrality of the issue of migration, as well as the floundering economic situation in many parts of Europe. In recent years, let's say about the past 10 or 15 years, there's been a surge in this particular style of politique. If we look in France, the characters like Marie Le Pen, or we go to Holland, for instance, Wilker, Farage in Britain and so forth. I think this surge is really instigated by the general discontent of Europeans that are not doing well economically and are seeing this issue of migration, particularly from the third world migration, as a big threat to their livelihoods and just the complexion of their societies.
But it seems then that trend has been bulked in Portugal. It seems to have been an effort across the political divide that even campaigners from other political parties and fields of persuasion as far as ideology is concerned were in agreement that this Ventura must be kept out.
Yes, absolutely. In Portugal, if you look at before the runoff last year's May elections, a poll that was conducted in Portugal showed the results that less than 40% of the population actually believed that migration is a central topic in the country's woes. However, still, even though it's only 40% is quite a sizable amount of any population if we're talking about such important aspects of their political orientation. Nevertheless, there are real problems that are really facing the people of Portugal right now. For instance, crisis in housing, health, education, and the ever-rising cost of living. So, as a central point, I think the consensus, the sober consensus from both sides of the aisle, whether leftist or rightist, are just that, okay, the importance is just to bring some stability, so that the real issues can be addressed, rather than taking the straw man approach of seeing migration as the only issue.
But it's also interesting that the choice that you don't make is as interesting as the choice that you do make, isn't it? Because in choosing Antonio José Seguro, they are choosing a moderate socialist. How does that sit with the issues that you just outlined and the approach that we can expect in government? Remembering, of course, that the presidency in Portugal is largely ceremonial, but it remains influential.
Yes, indeed. I think the importance of this outcome really shows to us, the prognosticators, that now that Andre Ventura is going to be an important figure in the opposition benches, the issues will still be ventilated in a very charismatic fashion. It will still be stirring the pot, as it were. However, it's by not giving him a mandate, I think, is also just a little bit of restraint from not only the votership, as they vote directly for a president in Portugal, but I think the parties that club together to say, okay, let us just halt the far rightism that we've seen even within the neighborhood. It's a matter of let's just choose a logical step towards the future, rather than bringing in a lot more of the atrocious political style into the fray. And I think it is probably the better of the two, not discounting that the 37%. The 33% that Ventura has gotten gives his party, Chega, literally a big voice as well in terms of numbers within their parliament.
Yeah, it remains a phenomenon, a political phenomenon within that space. I've got to thank you for your time. Itumeleng Makgetla is a political analyst at the University of Pretoria.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
27 minutes after 6, so let me take one or two of your voice notes. Naturally, Paul O'Sullivan dominates the conversation.
To last morning, South Africa. I just want to weigh in on the pending appearance of Mr. Paul O'Sullivan on the other committee in Parliament. That one, positions and postures have already been taken, a hostile one to that matter, to the Mr. Sullivan. He's going to get the very same treatment Mr. Matlala got. That ad hoc committee is going to become a court of law. Going to refer to him as an imposter, a criminal, and everything. Things which are not supposed to be ventilated. What's supposed to be ventilated is questions only to get to with the fundamental objective to getting at the root of the problem.
Let's hope that.
I hope things go well.
Yeah,
Major from Guatemala.
Major, thank you for that. Let's hope that is compensated for by the evidence leaders, right, who are also part of the process. Hopefully they will lead in terms of asking pointed questions aimed at uncovering the facts, and then let the politicians be politicians. I hear you, Major, but politicians are politicians. They have a constituency. They need to be projecting a certain posture towards certain individuals and characters in society, and therefore they carry that mandate, and they will be wanting to be seen to be performing and fulfilling that mandate. You're absolutely right. I've gotten the sense that a lot of the parties are itching to have him in the room, and it's not that they are happy to see. Let's just put it that way. It's likely to be a very tense and difficult session for Paul O'Sullivan. Someone else wants to talk about the electricity tariffs and the multi-billion rand NERSA blunder.
Morning, Thulas. I'm wondering if these guys who are approving these electricity hikes, do they buy electricity, or are this the same people like your ANC, these politicians who are detached from
and remain sustainable as an entity? That is the explanation. That is the approach. They will tell you that affordability features somewhere, but the starting point is, what are the costs involved? And that's where, actually, by the way, NERSA made that blunder previously, in not taking into account certain aspects that had to do with the costs of producing electricity, with the result that the initial determination was lower and has now been uplifted very significantly. And who's paying? You and I. And Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, 5 people accused of illegally recruiting people to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war are expected to return to the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today. They face charges of contravening the Regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. The ANC says it will not be abrasive to forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan during his appearance in front of Parliament's ad hoc committee today. The committee is investigating corruption in the criminal justice system. O'Sullivan had earlier requested to appear virtually, citing security concerns. And lawyers for Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned accomplice of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, says she will speak fully and honestly, but only if US President Donald Trump grants her clemency. Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We take you out of Mpumalanga and Creel area. More protesting this morning, more roads blocked, burning tyres in the area, plus some of this business where they commandeer trucks, pull them across the road and block it for some time as the authorities have to then scramble to get some keys, get that engine started and engaged and move those trucks away. So if you're around the Creel area or any plans to go there, maybe do it this afternoon rather than head off at this stage. A collision on the N17 between Boksburg and Germiston, just coming up to Osborne Road. That's quite heavy. N1 through Diepkloof slow. Mike 1 or Monday up towards Braamfontein, very heavy this morning. And we're queuing on the N3 running north. There's a breakdown at Modderfontein Road. Delays from Galulis. A crash just past Marlborough Drive going south, causing delays down in towards that Alexandra area. Durban side this morning. Breakdown still with us around the Keir Ridge area. If you're on your way to Pietermaritzburg, watch out for that one. And Cape Town, a crash on the Hindle Road in the Westbank area. That's Hindle Road by Saxdowns Road. Also Stellenbosch Arterial onto 35th Avenue into Bishop Lavis, quite slow. And the M1 looks like being a busy run through with traffic already sitting between Brackenfell and Century City. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. So the first update of the morning, let's start with the T20 World Cup. We've had our opener against Canada and it went swimmingly well.
Oh, Tulas, exactly. Solid start. Perfect opening act, I think. And let's hope that we continue this momentum here at this T20 World Cup. What wonderful news. South Africa had a commanding 57-run victory over Canada in Ahmedabad. The Proteas piled on 213 for 4, the highest total of the tournament so far. Captain Aiden Markram led from the front with 59, while Ryan Rickleton chipped in with 35. The finishing touches came from David Miller and Tristan Stubbs. With the ball, Lungi Ngidi struck with the very first delivery of Canada's reply, setting the tone for a ruthless power play. South Africa now sit top of Group D alongside New Zealand. They face Afghanistan, that's tomorrow, while Canada will take on the UAE on Friday. More cricket, Zimbabwe marked their return to the T20 World Cup with an 8-wicket win over Oman in Colombo. The Chevrons bowled Oman out for just 103 before chasing down the target with more than 6 overs to spare. Let's go to soccer news. Kaizer Chiefs left back Bradley Cross says they are fully behind under fire teammate Mduduzi Shabalala, who has been heavily criticised by the fans after missing chances in the past 2 matches.
Yeah, no, we're all supporting, we're all with him, and like I said, that happens to everyone. Everyone can miss opportunities. At the end of the day, we're all surrounded by him and all comforting him, and he knows himself, he's strong mentally, and we're all behind him and got his back.
On to African football, the CAF Executive Committee meets in Dar es Salaam. That's on Friday, chaired by CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe. The meeting, followed by a media briefing, forms a key part of preparations for AFCON 2027, which will be jointly hosted by Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. Back home, Durban City FC have parted ways with head coach Sinatemba Badela just 3 matches into his tenure. Despite recording 2 wins and 1 defeat, the club says the decision followed an internal review rather than off-field results. In England now, Newcastle manager Eddie Howe says he remains fully committed to the club despite growing pressure following a 3-2 defeat to Brentford. The loss left Newcastle 12th in the Premier League, prompting boos from supporters at St James Park. And finally, Milan Cortina 2026 organisers say they are investigating reports of Olympic medals breaking. 2 American gold medalists revealed their medal ribbons detach shortly after presentation.
What happened? Isn't like one of the biggest prizes in sport, and you're supposed to treasure it for life, and you would think that they put quality into it.
Where are they getting their gold from? I'd love to know. It's detaching itself. Yeah, no, the quality control must be not up to scratch. But we will be. More sport for you here on the Morning Brief, top of the hour. I'm Sai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Ndauleng Lechela. Good morning to you, Ndauleng. The first update, let's start. You don't really think of China and think about struggling with any sector economically. Yes, you think, there'll be a setback in this quarter, in that quarter. But when you talk about the property slump and you're saying that it is deepening, those are not words you associate with China, are they?
You're absolutely right, Thulas. You see, the property sector slump began just after COVID hit, right? And it's just never seemed to recover because individuals, investors lost billions of dollars when that sector collapsed, and we're not seeing a recovery in investments on that front. And so the Asian nations' property downturn is not letting up. This being reaffirmed by S&P Global Ratings, cutting its outlook for home sales just weeks into the year. The ratings agency now expects primary property sales to fall by 10 to 14% this year, a downgrade from its earlier forecast of a mid-single digit decline. S&P says excess housing supply remains the central drag, with developers continuing to complete projects despite weak demand. leaving inventories bloated for a sixth consecutive year. The oversupply is expected to push home prices down a further 2 to 4% this year, extending last year's slide and undermining buyer confidence. With policy support still limited and focused elsewhere, S&P warns the sector's troubles will continue to pressure developers' balance sheets and weigh on broader economic growth.
And tell me about Orion Minerals and the funding that they've secured for. Is it Priska in the Northern Cape? Is it?
Yes, that's the one. So confidence in Orion Minerals' Northern Cape copper ambitions is building after its Priska copper zinc mine subsidiary secured a binding $250 million prepayment facility with Glencore, marking a decisive step towards production. Now, the funding tied to future copper and zinc concentrate sales will finance the Priska Uppers development and partially fund the Deeps, strengthening Orion's balance sheet and execution certainty. Now, the agreement follows growing global interest in copper assets as demand accelerates from electrification, data centers, and electric vehicles, while new discoveries remain scarce. Orion expects first production from the Uppers about 13 months after financial close, now targeted for late March this year, with first concentrate output in early 2027. Now, Glencore's backing adds to recent momentum for Orion after BHP announced a joint venture to advance copper and zinc exploration in the region. Together, the deals signal increasing confidence from major global miners in Orion's strategy and the long-term potential of the country's underexplored Northern Cape copper belt.
All right, lastly, Dowling, recap how we closed yesterday and how we are starting the day in the markets.
So starting on Wall Street, markets kicked the week off strong with stocks in the green. The rebound in tech stocks continuing and boosting the Nasdaq, which closed 0.9% higher. Meanwhile, back at home, trade was choppy, but precious metals recovered towards the end of the day, helping the resource counters, with the Resi 10 up 0.8%, leading to the all share closing 0.2%. So yes, all that glitters proving to be gold for our miners, but not so much for the Olympians. Anyway, the rand.
I do hope, though, that it's just the lanyard that is coming apart,
and
not the gold itself. Zai owes us a better explanation.
Yeah. I need more.
Otherwise, everything you've told us about gold in the last 2 years stands to be questioned. Then, Dowling.
I know, man. I was very.
What happened now, Dowling? All right, we seem to have lost Ndauling. All right, that's Ndauling Lechala there. She'll be back with another update for you just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start. This is a concerning situation, is it not? In the Horn of Africa region, Ethiopia, Eritrea, simmering tensions that have been in place for a number of years, and now they seem to be heating up once again.
Indeed, Thulas, refresh your money and jump Africa to the listeners. Thulas, remember the conflict since the late 90s, 1998 to 2000. It came back again in 2020 to 2022. Hence, you had what you call the Tshwane Peace Accord between the Tigray People's Liberation Army and the government. But why Eritrea, Thulas? Remember, Eritrea was once part of Ethiopia. It was only separated in 1993. Now, the war of words that have emerged over the weekend by ministers of foreign affairs is that Ethiopia is raising the issue that can Eritrea move a little bit further to us away from its borders? And that's where the issue of this simmering conflict that has been going on, because Addis Ababa is accusing Asmara to say you are supporting one of the rebel groups in the north part in Mekele. But Asmara denies those accusation, and this goes to what others will call a cycle of violence and mistrust that is broken, and it's only through diplomacy they can engage. And I think both the government of Ethiopia and Eritrea are trying by all means to engage so they can avoid this conflict between the two countries.
And a treason trial in Tanzania, tell me what that is about.
Let's remember Tundulisu, who has been in prison since last year. He was raising issues around election. He has been in prison for 10 months. Yesterday he was appearing. And remember, as an accused, he is also a legal mind. So yesterday he was representing himself, and he opposed the plan by the prosecution to have a secret witness to appear in a special enclosed cell. And this has also caused tension. Remember the post-election violence in Tanzania of 2025, the shutting down of internet. There was a blame around Tundu Lisu's involvement. But this case has been taking time to last. Even his members of his party, they were in the court yesterday alleging that the government is delaying this case, and at the same time they have this likelihood that Tundu Lisu might leave the country. Hence they are even denying him a bail application.
Yeah, just an aspect that you're saying he's representing himself.
Yeah.
I don't know about the wisdom of that, hey? Just because you're a legal practitioner, representing yourself, does it always work, Sipho?
It do. For me, the classical case, the Rastafarian in Cape Town, Prince Gareth in 2018, went before the Constitutional Court. Actually, it was Prince 3 that got him the right of privacy, even if he wanted the right to culture, because privacy is privacy.
Yes,
but sometimes it's good to represent yourself because you're able to sanitize the law, because you have a lawyer who doesn't have the feeling that what you went through during those political tensions with the government. And I think, he's a seasoned lawyer to us. Sometimes political opposition and activists, when they're legal minds, they're able to represent their views correctly. Yes, you'll have a jury and a judge who might say, is it not a conflict of interest here? But I don't think so.
A friend of mine once said, if you represent yourself as a legal practitioner, you'll either be your worst client or your worst lawyer.
Absolutely.
One of the
you have to carry the burden to that. You have to carry both burdens.
Let's move on, Sipho. Let's go to Malawi. I don't believe this story. I honestly don't believe it. Tell me what they found about the intelligence levels of Gen Zs.
Those who are born 1997, 2010, even young people who are listening to us this morning, this is not an offense. It's just the report that came from a neuroscientist and education expert from the US when he says most of the Gen Zs are struggling mentally because of heavy dependence on technology. And this is because, as we know, young people are always on their laptops, they're always on their social media, they're always on their tablets. And this says that the Gen Z are struggling, to think. And he says if government and the school and the education is not dealing with this, the next generation will not be Gen Z, but will be the generation Alpha. And this might be even worse off to us. And these are the issues that they say data from 80 countries shows that schools widely who adopt digital technology, the student performance drops sharply to us. Remember, as students, to us, we were in the old school, we used to have debates, we used to have human contact. Now, lately, students are always on their tablets, they're always on their iPads, they always want a Wi-Fi code. So this American researcher have found that the issue of dependency, there's a poor problem-solving skills, low reading, and mathematical abilities compared to the older generation. So I don't know, Thulas, the jury it is out there. It says 1997 to 2010.
Yeah.
That's where the report is raising this shocking verdict amongst the young people.
I can accept the challenges around mental health and concentration levels, but if they frame it around intelligence, then they've lost me. I'm not on board with that framing of that issue. Lastly, Sipho, your historical archives, 2 items that you're pulling out for us from the 10th of February 1988 in the then Bophuthatswana, and then a second one from 10 February 1990.
To the first one, I was very young, and I want to tell listeners how old I was. And it's always good to go to an archive when you were part of it. You are either the witness of that historical moment, the 1988 failed coup. This was the second military coup, by the way, in Bantustan state from Transkei to Bophuthatswana. This was a failed coup led by the then Rocky Malebane Timothy Phiri and the then President Lucas Mangophe was rescued by the then apartheid government during that time. There was even a special court. This matter even went to the TRC. There were many TRC cases that were looking at amnesty of those who were involved in the 1988 failed military coup in Mafikeng. That was 1988 then. 1994, it was the fall of Mangophe, by the way. On this day also, this is the ultimate day that the late president announced that he would release Nelson Mandela on the 11th of February 1990, 56 years ago, and other political prisoners. This was a surprise to us. You will remember that the release was going to be unconditional, and it was a surprise that it caught many government officials, the then apartheid government officials, shocked in the sense that they've been trying to negotiate this release of Nelson Mandela with all those conditions. But the then FW declared president said that tomorrow we are going to release Nelson Mandela and other political prisoners. Asante sana Thulas, as was leading the conversation, SAFM observing the state of the nation.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mandula with your Africa update.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Starting in Mpumalanga, a reminder the Creel area on lockdown this morning. Burning tyres, large crowds protesting. At least the 545 and the 547 routes blocked off. The 545 from Creel all the way to Reed Stream Estate to the north. The road down to the Kinross area is also blocked off as well. So multiple routes blocked in that Creel area. If you need to get in there today or through there, maybe travel later or give yourself plenty of time because you will be hitting some alternatives and some traffic disruption as well. Joburg's N3 South is heavy today. A crash between Marlborough Drive and London Road. Multi-vehicle pile-up happened around about 5:30 this morning. Traffic very heavy coming off Buccleuch interchange. If you're on your way through Buccleuch to the airport, make sure you've got plenty of time to get through. N12 Benoni through Boksburg is heavy. The N17 from Boksburg through to Germiston, through Osborne Road and through that Wadeville area, very slow. A lot of construction underway on that section of the N17, plus a crash near Osborne Road as well, and a collision coming out of Rampark Ridge this morning on Easterhoek near Rabi, causing quite a heavy delay on your way through to Randburg. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg, a stationary truck around Key Ridge has been there a while. There's another one up at Cliffdale, so once you get past Shongweni, it's one of those bad mornings on the N3 heading through to Cliffdale. Lights are down on the Kwamashu Highway at the N2, that's heavy. Crash on the M7 at Bel Air and Wakesley, causing delays for Bluffbound traffic. That queue starting to park back to the Queensborough area. And Cape Town, a heavy set of highways this morning, notably the M5 from Retreat all the way through to Maitland, and there's a lot of congestion around the top of the airport. Robert Sobukwe 35th Avenue and Stellenbosch Arterial, those routes through to Bishop Lavis on a heavy jam. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
It's time to say yes to Montreux Jazz Festival, Franschhoek, happening in Franschhoek from the 27th to the 29th of March 2026. It's 3 days. It's 3 days, 2 stages, the Archers and Jazz Village, and a jazz-inspired multi-genre experience, plus a chilled Sunday slowdown to close, featuring the legendary Salif Keita, Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigade, Sisonke Konti, Madala Gunene, and Sibusile Xaba. Plus Mandisi Gyantis, Billy Monama, Kesivan Naidu, Mos Mohale, Vusi Mahlasela, and more than 20 additional artists still to be announced. This is where Montreux meets Africa. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster or visit mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
8 minutes to 7. Disaster management teams have been deployed to KwaZulu-Natal's Herigwala and Umgungundlovu districts following severe weather over the weekend that claimed one life injured several people and left dozens of residents homeless. KwaZulu-Natal Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC Thulasizwe Simelane has confirmed that destructive weather conditions, including gale force winds, hailstorms and lightning, battered parts of the province from Friday through to Saturday. The storms resulted in one fatality in Umzimkhulu, multiple injuries and extensive damage to homes and infrastructure. Let's speak to Senzelwe Mzila, spokesperson for the KZN Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC. Good morning to you, Senzelwe, and thank you for your time. So you've had a couple of days of assessing the damage that has occurred. What is the extent of the damage and which districts and regions are mostly affected?
Good morning to you, Thulasizwe, and good morning to the listeners. The province of KZN is once more facing inclement weather conditions. Our teams have been dispatched, and yes, they have been on the ground and they've been conducting assessments. In terms of the assessments that we've done so far, the most affected area is within the Impendle local municipality, Ward 5, where we've got about 12 families whose homes have been destroyed by a hailstorm that had strong winds. This occurred on Saturday. Now, these families are receiving support from us as a department. We're working also together with our social partners and sister departments. These families have been left destitute. Some of them are residing with neighbors, and some of them we've provided interim shelter for them while they try to rebuild their lives.
So as far as the human toll is concerned, we confirmed one fatality in the area of Umzimkhulu. What about other people, injuries and the likes? Are there people needing to be rescued or being searched for?
Well, we've got a lightning strike incident that occurred as well in Umzimkhulu, also in Ward 12, where 3 people were seriously injured during a lightning strike incident. Now, these are 2 separate incidents. One was in Ward 15 of Umzimkhulu, where a fatality occurred when a female was struck by lightning at her workplace. In the second incident, it was in Ward 12 in Umzimkhulu, and 3 people have suffered injuries. These people are being attended to at hospital right now. So the NEC is concerned about the increase of such incidents, and he has called for communities across the province to continue to be vigilant. Also, the department continues as well with its own program of rolling out lightning conductors to vulnerable communities.
How does this latest bout of inclement weather fit in with what you were already dealing with in as far as the floods and other weather-related situations are concerned? Because not so long ago, while the focus was on Limpopo and Mpumalanga, parts of KwaZulu-Natal were also affected quite extensively.
Yes, you remember that during our spring and summer seasons, this is when, as a province, we face the high risk of flooding and other weather-related incidents. You'll remember also in December and November, we had incidents where people were swept away in the areas of Umzumbe and parts of eThekwini when they were trying to cross a low-lying bridge. So we've had a number of incidents that have occurred in various parts of the province, and this is part of our spring and summer season, the incidents that we normally face. But the department is working closely, though, with communities to ensure that we continue to educate our communities about these dangers that we face as a province. We've also beefed up our capacity to Thulasizwe. We are building disaster management centers in the most rural of our municipalities so that this support and assistance is closer to our communities.
All right, thank you for your time this morning. That's Senzelwe Mzila, spokesperson for the KZN Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, someone wants to talk about the Epstein files, something that we've not really gone in depth with, right? We've not really talked about in depth. Let's hear what this person has to say about it.
Good morning, Thulas and the team. Good show as always. Thulas, what's on my mind today is the Jeffrey Epstein file and the firing of a British diplomat Mandelson by Keir Starmer, who is facing a vote of no confidence in the parliament. Juxtapose that to Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to establish a commission of inquiry after General Mkwalazi revelation about the roles in the South African police services to us. Those decisions makes me wonder to us. BK, thank you.
BK, I hear you, and I hear you 100% because some of these issues don't need forensic evidence. Evidence of proper value, relevant evidence that will withstand the test of cross-examination. No. Some of these things are a political judgment call that says you are naive, you are prone to being manipulated by all sorts of shady characters, your judgment is poor, and I'm done with you. You are out. Whatever else is then found later on, and I'm talking generally, okay? Don't understand me to be coaching anyone here. Not that the president would take coaching from me. I'm just saying that some of these things are a political call. People serve, we're always reminded, we serve at the behest of the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. We serve at the behest of the president. Some of the things are a judgment call. He has said, by the way, the president, reported as saying that the issue of Senzo Mchunu is his albatross, his proverbial cross to bear. So he's willing to bear that cross. So there you are. That's where that is. Let me take one or two on NERSA and their situation and that blunder that they made and how we are paying for it.
It's Nicholas Rome, my cousin. The NERSA thing, the application process and the blunder that they've made, it's a very, very serious and costly blunder. I'm one of the people that works at the municipality, and I deal with these applications on a yearly basis. And I feel for those people who fall under the bracket of being being poor and not being able to afford electricity, because as we speak right now, electricity is so expensive for them. And the more these blunders happen, and the more we're getting increases that are above the guide, it's the more that the people are going to be plunged into more debt, and again also into more illegal connections.
True story. That's an absolutely true story. The affordability of electricity is the latest manifestation of our energy crisis. Initially, we dealt with unavailability of electricity and that whole situation with so-called load shedding. Now we are dealing with electricity is there, but so many people simply cannot afford the bills that are associated with it. With that said, let's go to N. Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Russian military recruitment suspects back in court today, and O'Sullivan will not be treated as an enemy of the ad hoc committee. Good morning. 5 people accused of illegally recruiting people to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war are expected to return to the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today. They face charges of contravening the Regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. The 5 are 39-year-old Nonkululeko Patricia Mantula, a well-known radio presenter, along with Thulani Mazibuko, Xolani Ntuli, Siphamandla Shabalala and Sfiso Mabena. Puseletso Mukwena reports.
The state alleges that Mantula facilitated the recruitment and the travel of her co-accused to join the Russian military. They were intercepted by the Hawks at OR Tambo International Airport in late November last year, just moments before boarding a flight to Russia via the UAE. The matter was postponed to today to allow the state to conduct further investigations, including the analysis of digital evidence seized during their arrest.
In another development, Kenya says it will engage with Russia over the growing number of reports of its citizens being recruited to fight in Ukraine. Speaking to the BBC, Kenya's Foreign Minister, Musalia Mudavadi, described the practice as unacceptable and clandestine.
We believe that maybe close to 200 Kenyans could be involved. But as things stand now, the government of Kenya has helped to repatriate about 27. We have also seen about 8 Kenyans who have either died or they are missing in action.
The ANC says it will not be abrasive to forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan during his appearance in front of Parliament's ad hoc committee today. The committee is investigating corruption in the criminal justice system. O'Sullivan had earlier requested to appear virtually, citing security concerns. He will be questioned on allegations that he impersonated an official from the police watchdog IPID and that he was part of a task team that plotted against the former police commissioner Khumutso Patlane. ANC Chief Whip and committee member Mdumiseni Ntuli has given the assurance that O'Sullivan will not be treated as an enemy of the committee during his appearance.
When we invite somebody to appear before us as a witness, we are not inviting a person whom we've already found guilty. We are not inviting a person who is the enemy of Parliament or the enemy of the people of South Africa. We are engaged in an exercise of searching the truth to understand exactly what is happening in the criminal justice system, and so that we can be in a better position to determine what kinds of actions are required to remedy the kind of a crisis we're confronted with. So Mr. O'Sullivan is not coming there as an enemy of the ad hoc committee or the people of South Africa. He's coming there as a witness. How he conducts himself as well is going to determine the response that he's going to receive from members of Parliament.
The Western Cape Education Department says it has placed more than 26,000 learners in grades R, 1 and 8 since the beginning of January. Spokesperson Bruna Hammond says they were dealing with an unprecedented number of late applications at the start of the year. She says placement is now nearly complete for grade 8 with over 99% of learners placed.
13,905 extremely late applications were received for grade R alone this year. While we celebrate the placement of 26,000 learners in an exceptionally short period of time, we are working hard to finalize the placement of the 722 grade 1 and 8 learners and the remaining 1,148 in grade R learners from the 25,000 late applications received.
And finally, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers say she will speak fully and honestly, but only if US President Donald Trump grants a clemency. Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking. She refused to answer questions from members of Congress in Washington yesterday. The Democratic Congressman Suhas Subramaniam is from the House Oversight Committee.
Her attorney basically said that she would start talking when President Trump would pardon her or give her clemency. And so I think she is trying to get a pardon from President Trump. I don't know how we're going to get information from her if she feels like that is a path. And so I would like for the Trump administration to unequivocally say that they will never pardon her.
Recapping the top story, 5 people accused of illegally recruiting people to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war are expected to return to the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today. They face charges of contravening the regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
You could show your bank balance some love this month with awesome car insurance savings from Outsurance. Like 43-year-old Gloria, who saves an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
A very good morning to you. In your sport this hour, the Proteas have set an early World Cup warning with a dominant win over Canada. And we also bring you news from Kaizer Chiefs. Their left back, Bradley Cross, says they're fully behind under fire teammate Mduduzi Shabalala. Let's find out more just before 7:30.
All right. 7 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the morning brief. We are on SAFM 104 to 107. Among some of what we will tell you over this hour, we'll start off, and I want to make as much time as possible for this conversation with the chairperson of the ad hoc committee in Parliament that is investigating the allegations of criminality, criminal infiltration and political interference, as well as corruption within the criminal justice system. The committee that was spawned by the allegations made on the 6th of July 2025 by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. They are finally going to hear from one of their most anticipated witnesses in forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan, who will now appear in person. There was a bit of a dilly-dallying that happened, a bit of a toing and froing about whether or not he would appear and would appear in person, and whether or not he was going to be summoned. Eventually, they managed to broker some kind of an agreement. So the chairperson of that committee, Mulapi Soviet Lekhanyane, will be my guest over the next few minutes. And then immediately after that, please share your experiences with me. If you've had to deal with the master's office in the high courts, right, across the country, really. Problems in that office have been reported for quite some time, and stabilization efforts, we are told, are underway with various interventions being put in place. But two of the busiest master's offices, Johannesburg and Pretoria, are still without a permanently appointed heads, and the situation seems to have taken a rather interesting manifestation in the sense that the acting terms of the people who were acting in those positions in the master's office, head of the office in Joburg and in Pretoria, both of those stints lapsed at the end of January. So we're now sitting with a situation where there's no clarity as to what happens. Are we extending their acting stints, or are we going to have permanently appointed people? It might seem like a very short time, 10 days since the end of the month, but actually, if you think about how crucial the master's office is in winding up estates, in terms of dealing with insolvencies, in terms of dealing with orphans and vulnerable people, in terms of the Guardian's Fund, you start to think about it and you start to realize that this is one of those crucial positions in our justice system that needs to be attended to. But also, I mean, there's problems that have been reported in the backlogs, for example. So if you've dealt with the master's office, what has been your experience, and what do you gauge to be the importance of fixing that situation and ensuring that there's proper leadership in place? Your own take on those matters. The number to dial 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it then, the second hour of the morning brief, and go straight to the conversation that we are having with all right, we're going to start with the conversation on the master's office, actually. As I was saying, the situation as far as the two offices in Johannesburg and in Pretoria being of particular concern. Fresh concerns are being raised about service delivery in the country's master's offices, with Johannesburg and Pretoria still without permanently appointed heads weeks after acting terms expired in both those offices. Legal bodies warn that leaving these offices in prolonged limbo is more than an administrative problem. It directly affects estates, trusts, insolvencies, and the Guardian's Fund, which safeguards money belonging to society's most vulnerable. The Johannesburg Attorneys Association and SARIPA, these are the practitioners who work in that space. They say substantive appointments are essential to restore authority, accountability, and morale in offices already under severe strain. Let's speak to Catherine Gascoigne, who is the head of the Master's Office portfolio at the Johannesburg Attorneys Association. Good morning to you, Catherine, and thank you for your time. In your own words, capture the situation we are dealing with. I was saying that it may not sound like a long time, the acting stints in Johannesburg and Pretoria having expired in January. No one, no indication yet as to whether or not they will be extended or a substantive appointment made. But I imagine that it irks you enough as an association and other practitioners in the space that you've decided to say something about it?
Good morning, Taba. How are you? And thank you for having me. We have been notified that appointments have now been made. They were apparently made on the 4th, but it hasn't actually been formally presented to us. But what we do know is that the acting appointments, have been extended only by a period of 3 months, which is, again, a concern to us. You can well imagine that having a leaderless entity is a concern. And as stakeholders in these environments, we rely heavily on the masters and the seniors in the office to guide us, to guide their staff, and to give stability. So it's of enormous concern to us that we don't have this permanent continuity in place. So, yeah, we do.
And can you confirm that from the information you've now received, it's both the individuals who were in the acting capacity since about 2024?
Yes. So Pretoria and Johannesburg both have the same acting masters in place, which is wonderful because they're both very good, very efficient, and they do have the respect of their staff, and they certainly have the respect of the practitioners. But it is unsettling that those appointments are not permanent and that they are made after the expiry of the positions. You would, imagine going to work one day and discovering, well, actually, I'm not what I purport to be, and my authority isn't quite where it should be. It doesn't assist anybody in good governance, in giving some kind of comfort that your stuff's in good hands.
What is the situation as far as turning around the operations and efficiencies in the Master's office since the beginning of these acting stints of these individuals, but perhaps not narrowing it down to them as individuals, but the overall effort to try and infuse efficiency in the Master's office? Are things getting better from where we were a couple of years ago?
It's a difficult question. I do believe that the relationship with the stakeholders and the Master's office is deteriorating, and not because of the actual staff in the Master's office, but I do think it stems from further up the line, because they do not seem to understand the importance of the Master's office in the general economy of South Africa. If you consider people can't get access to inheritances, they can't get access to funds from the Guardians Fund, those are monies that should be put back into the economy because of people's ability to spend, to live, and that's where our lack of leadership comes from. We need people in place who are able to understand what the Master's Office's position is, and I think we are missing that. That the actual officers do understand that.
And what about, and I know that you lawyers don't like delving into political commentary, but let me ask you, political will to fix the problem in the form of the Minister Mamuluko Gupai, the initiatives being taken by her department, officials in her department, is there movement there in trying to support the Master's office?
I do believe when she was initially put into the position that there was a lot of talk, and we were all quite encouraged by the fact that she wanted to turn it around. However, we haven't seen much action from that. We are struggling to get any kind of meaningful conversation going in order to put our positions forward. One of the issues, which I think you may understand, which goes back to this conversation, is that right at the top, our acting master and the acting DG are held by one person. It's a dual portfolio. They are big portfolios, and it has nothing to do with ability, but it's overburdened. And if we had permanent positions, filling those positions, we'd have a lot more efficiency and we'd have a lot more interaction. And then I could understand that from the ministerial side that there would be
a proper manner of resolving efficiencies in the Master's office. But at this stage, the fact that letters are signed after expiry, it kind of indicates to us that they aren't taking this office as seriously as they should.
And in a way, you lead me to my next question, why this office should be taken as seriously as possible. Let's take one aspect of it, the Guardians Fund. It was under the spotlight, I think, about 2 years ago or thereabouts, when there were difficulties that were being reported around the management thereof and the access by orphans and widows to funds held in the Guardians Fund. What is the situation now? If someone needs to be assisted in that way, what are they looking at in terms of the backlogs, in terms of the time that it takes for you to be able to access?
You know, the Guardians Fund is a department much like any of the other departments within the Master's Office,
Sure.
the deceased estates or the trusts. And the difficulty is the communication with those departments. A lot of these departments are dependent on network issues. And with the networking issues going down and the communication between the stakeholders, the orphans, and the Master's Office staff, there's a disconnect. So it is an infrastructure issue half the time. It is a lack of staffing, which creates these backlogs and which then again prevents people accessing funds they desperately need and are entitled to. So if these issues were able to be resolved by better oversight, by people considering the impact of not paying out Guardians Fund entitlements, then we would have a much more efficient environment. But we have frustration. We have I think you can understand that the complaints regarding this are huge.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing some of those insights and flagging those issues that are important within the system as a whole. That is Catherine Gascoigne, who is from the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, head of the Master's Office portfolio within that association.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Sea Robbers are on a real mission to go back to their days of happy people. But Bahlabane Bantwa say they are only going to Orlando Stadium to collect 3 points. This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Orlando Pirates versus Marumo Cannons this Saturday, 14 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Eskom is upgrading old electricity meters with modern smart meters, giving you clarity, control, and confidence. With your new meter, you'll be able to see your usage in real time, giving you the power to manage your electricity with ease. Smart meters are accurate and help Eskom respond faster to issues. Please allow their authorized installers access to install your new meter. For more information, visit the Eskom website. Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let me just read a message that has come through in relation to the conversation we were having a few minutes ago with Catherine Gascoigne from the Johannesburg Attorneys Association and reflections of your experiences dealing with the Master's Office in the High Courts. Kaulani Ntuli in Vryheid, for example, says, people working at the Master's Office do not care for the vulnerable people they are supposed to be helping. In Nelspruit, for example, people are sometimes turned back because the person working there is not available. Why only one person? And why are these offices are only in big cities? Poor orphans have to hire vehicles to reach them, only to find they can't get assistance on that day, says Reverend Kaulani Ntuli there in Vryheid, talking about lived experience of working with the Master's Office, the importance of that office that Catherine Gascoigne was talking to a couple of minutes ago. Let me take a call from Kaya in KZN. Good morning to you, Kaya. Much on your mind this morning, yeah?
Yes, Thulasizwe, good morning to you and also the SAFM listeners.
Sure.
Thanks for taking my call. You know what, Kaya and the listeners?
Kaya is you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying Thulasizwe.
That's all good.
Yeah, Thulasizwe, you know what? The biggest mistake that we are committing as South Africans is that we are very lazy and we don't want to read. We don't want to research. That's the biggest mistake that we are doing. You know what, my brother? If you see the way Operation Dudula and March are doing their business, we should be, in fact, not taking what they are telling us as the gospel truth, but we should be doing our own research about it. Let me give you a few examples. Firstly, they said there is an influx of foreign nationals in our hospitals, which makes them dysfunctional and what's not. You know what? To qualify their points, to support their position, they went to healthcare facilities where those that are found where you find most of the foreign nationals in. For example, in South Beach in Durban,
yes,
we know very well that place is dominated by foreign nationals. Like places in Hillbrow, we know that those places are dominated by foreign nationals. That is where they go so that they support their position. But they don't go in places like Kwamasho, places like Ntuzuma, places like Tembisa, places like Umlazi, areas like Ndwedwe, to support their statement. Yes.
So
why they don't go to these healthcare facilities?
Are you saying that if they visited healthcare facilities away from the centers where there's a large migrant population, where they know, you and I know, and they know that there's a large migrant population, if they went away from those centers, they would have a different picture from the one they are seeking to present, and therefore you're saying they're carefully curating the centers that they visit so that it supports their message?
Exactly, my brother. Exactly, my brother. You know what? When they were saying that our healthcare facilities are no longer functional, they went to Eddington in South Beach, and again, when they come back to say that now our schools are now flooded by foreign nationals, where they went again, they went to Eddington Primary. Why they didn't go to Kwamashu? Why they didn't go to Zola in Gauteng? Why they didn't go to Langa in Cape Town?
All right.
Why every time they want to visit these places where we know for the fact that foreign nationals are majority in?
Kaya, thank you for that. All right.
If we don't take whatever that they are saying as if it's gospel truth, but we do research, thorough research. I'm telling you, my brother.
All right, Kaya, thank you
for that.
for
These guys are taking us for a ride.
Thank you, Kaya. You've raised an interesting debate. Let's hear what other callers and listeners have to say about your take about March and March. In fact, I can go straight to, is it Jabu Sibanyon in Middleburg? Good morning to Jabu.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
You are listening there. What do you make of what is being said?
No, one thing I agree with your previous caller is that he says he's lazy. So I agree with him. He is lazy. So he cannot say why are they not going to areas where there's no big concentration. Why is he not going there to highlight that? So it is his duty as a citizen to go there and highlight that. So March and March is doing what they're doing wherever they are doing it. So he's actually saying to us, we must say, no, we accept that there's a large concentration of illegal immigrants somewhere, and then we must accept that. We're not going to accept it.
Sorry, Jabu. I don't think the point is about physically going to a center. I think the point he's making is that they are selective. And then I'm recapturing what he said. March and March and Operation Dudula and organizations like those are selective. They go to, when you know that I'm most likely going to find foreign nationals if I go to that clinic. As opposed to if I went to a different clinic. So I don't think he's talking about the act of physically going there, but the center that you choose to visit.
My brother, everyone is selective whenever they try to push their own narrative.
I hear you.
You can take ANC.
Yes.
There's places that they know that they don't have membership. Do they go there? They don't go there because they know they're going to suffer.
So it's par for the cause.
Everyone knows that this is where I must go. So if you feel that they must go somewhere else, you must go there.
Okay, gotcha. Jabu, thank you for calling in. Let me stick with that theme because Kaya has gotten people thinking and talking about March and March and Operation Dudula. Let me go to Lizo in Gqeberha. Good morning to you, Lizo.
Good morning to us and the listeners. Look, I wanted to be a bit rough regarding the statement that was made by this guy.
You wanted to be a bit?
A bit rough, but I won't be rough. I'll be professional.
As long as you don't insult him, you can be as rough as you want.
No, I'll never insult.
Sure.
Look, I think sometimes it's worth a while for us to be honest in stating things that we've experienced, not accuse others when they've got their own evidence. I stay in Gqeberha. My wife is a nurse. I can tell you for free, my friend, I can even bring evidence. There is a lot of foreign nationals in our health centers. I went to 3 yesterday because I had to deliver some things for her. This is the fact. I don't have any issue with people where they come from, whatever part of the world, but I would love the gentleman just to be honest. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Even some of the staff people have been asking very serious questions regarding the numbers of people that are either illegal or coming from other parts of our continent. So I would love the gentleman to say he thinks he should not say that Operation Dudula and March and March haven't done their research, because I would dispute that with what I know, with my lived experience.
Is it your lived experience that it's the same? It doesn't matter whether it's in town or in the townships or in far-flung areas, the experience will be exactly the same? Because I think that's the point he was making.
Bottom line, this is what I want to say. The gentleman is not honest. That's what I want to say.
Gotcha.
I have seen, as I say to you right now, where I stay in those suburbs. I am passing by, there's something like 3 clinics that I visited yesterday. The fourth, I can even, I don't want to be like someone that goes for social media to go and expose things, but I can tell you, yesterday I was at one of the biggest hospitals here in Gqeberha, in the township. They call it Doranginza. I tell you right now, the ladies that were in the maternity ward there, they are of foreign descent. So I'm trying to say the gentleman need to be fair in saying he has not done his research. And if we can go pound for pound, I can say he can go. I can go into some areas. I can prove that as a research that is lived.
Gotcha.
So please, he needs to be fair to those organizations. Thank you very much.
Lizo, thank you for calling in. Lizo in Gqeberha. Let me go to N Musa on standby with the latest news headlines. N, do come in, please. You know I like to serenade and make a song and dance, but this morning
you're not throwing the curveballs, right?
No jingles and no trumpets for you, my friend. Go ahead.
Well, good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, Thabo Bester is expected to approach the High Court in Pretoria today to make an urgent application challenging his transfer from Kgoshi Mampuru prison in the capital to the Ebongweni Super Maximum Prison in KwaZulu-Natal. Last month, he lodged court papers on the basis that he's facing difficulties consulting with his legal team from Kokstad Prison and that his transfer was unlawful. 5 people accused of illegally recruiting people to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war are expected to appear in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today. They face charges of contravening the Regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. And the University of Pretoria's Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control has issued an urgent alert. It says the recent flooding in Limpopo, Mpumalanga and Mozambique has created a spike in mosquito breeding habitats. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
Very good morning. Joburg's N3 South stays heavy. A crash much earlier this morning going down to London Road. Traffic is now backed all the way through to the Buccleuch interchange. So coming off the N1 down through Limbro Park on your way to Alex, very heavy. Also crash and roadworks on the N17, Joburg bound around Wadeville. So as you come from Boksburg, there's some extra traffic on that run through today. And a collision out of Rampark Ridge on Easterhout at Rabi, causing quite a big backlog on your way through to Randburg. Olifantsfontein, dead still from Blue Hills across to the N1 highway. That sounds like a bit of a disaster. And traffic lights out at Montana, Sefako Makato, and the N1. Another morning of problems getting out of that Montana area. Durban to Pietermaritzburg, 2 breakdowns now. One at Key Ridge, one at Cliffdale. Heavy just after Shongweni. Traffic lights down. Kumashu Highway at the N2, so that's bad coming out of Kumashu. And a crash on the M7 towards the Bluff at Bel Air and Wakesy, pushing a traffic queue back to the Queensborough area. Cape Town, heavy out of Tableview today. Bloberg and Kuberg, those lights are down. That's heavy, so you've got a backlog on alternative routes. Rivergate's Malabongwe out to the N7, very heavy, and Marine Drive from Sunningdale through Milnerton, bad backlogs there. Also looks like something happening at Bishop Laver, Stellenbosch Arterial onto 35th Avenue and Robert Sobukwe north into that. Quite a heavy mess of traffic just north of the airport. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. You get a jingle. Hey, yeah, the unfairness in this world. And didn't get anything, you get something. Anyway, the Proteas also getting a jingle in the World Cup, are they? Announcing their arrival in dominant style.
Listen, Thulas, even the jingle needs a warm-up some mornings, okay?
We're not talking Pizza Musimane here. Not jingles.
No, not the jingles, yeah. But no jingle, you can still get your breakfast radio spot served to you, because you know what, Thulas, this team, man, what a statement win, laying down that early marker at this T20 World Cup, cruising. 57 run was the win over Canada in Ahmedabad. Captain Aiden Markram led from the front with 59. As the Proteas piled on 213 for 4 with the ball. Lungingiri starred, taking 4 for 31 to shut the door on the Canadians. South Africa face Afghanistan's cricket team next, and that's tomorrow as their World Cup campaign gathers momentum. Now, more cricket. The Proteas women will begin a key phase of their World Cup build up tonight. They'll host Pakistan in the first of 3 T20 internationals in Potchefstroom. Captain Laura Wolfart says the series is vital preparation ahead of the T20 World Cup in England later this year. South Africa won their last T20 series against Pakistan 2-1 and will be targeting another strong start on home soil. You can catch the action live on SABC Sport. Let's go to Kaizer Chiefs now. The Amakosi dressing room has closed ranks around Mduduzi Shabalala after he came under heavy criticism from supporters following missed chances in recent matches. Left back Bradley Cross says the squad is behind the attacker, insisting confidence and unity remains strong inside the camp despite the noise outside.
Yeah, no, since I came to Chiefs from the beginning, it wasn't an easy time for me. I mean, I had to deal a lot with the fans and critics and all of that, but I overcame that, and I'm proud of myself for doing that, and I'm just focusing on improving each and every game.
On to tennis, and Britain's Emma Raducanu was forced to retire due to illness from her first-round match at the Qatar Open against the world number 80 Camila Osorio. Raducanu had looked sharp early on, taking on the opening set 6-2 in just 37 minutes, but Osorio fought back, breaking early in the second set to level the contest 6-1. And finally, we'll bring you motorsport. The world champions McLaren have unveiled their livery. They will race with the 2026 Formula One season as they defend their titles. The colour scheme was launched on the MCL 40 in Bahrain on the eve of pre-season testing, which begins tomorrow, while the car itself is an all-new Challenger built for F1's revolutionary regulation era. The team has opted to retain its trademark look. And that's how your sport looks for now. We'll bring you more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
All right, Ndauling will be coming through in just a moment. She's got an update on the transaction between Access Bank and Bidvest Bank, an update that has come through there, but also watching the property market and telling us about Hyprop and their exposure in Gauteng's retail property market. Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with your first story. Sometimes these things work out and sometimes they just don't, these transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems Access Bank, Bidvest Bank is one of those instances when, well, at least for now, it doesn't seem to be working out.
Yeah. So Access Bank's bid to acquire Bidvest Bank has collapsed, dealing a setback to the Nigerian lenders' efforts to scale up in SA and forcing Bidvest to relaunch the sale of its banking unit. Now, Bidvest said the transaction was terminated after Access Bank failed to meet certain conditions by the agreed long stop date, despite ongoing efforts to secure regulatory approvals. The group stressed that Bidvest Bank remains adequately capitalized and operationally stable, with Bidvest continuing as sole shareholder during the renewed disposal process. The failed deal is a blow for Access Bank, which entered South Africa in 2021 through the acquisition of Grow Bank and has struggled to achieve scale. The bank has also faced recent management upheaval, with several senior executives leaving the company. For Bidvest, the exit from financial services remains a priority as it sharpens its focus on its core industrial operations. The group is also progressing with the sale of Bidvest Life, subject to regulatory approvals.
Why is Hyprop cutting its exposure to Gauteng's retail property market?
Hey, everyone's looking to get to win off the tourists that are all in Cape Town.
Oh,
it seems like us here in Joburg, and no one cares as much anymore.
That's where the money is.
That's where the money is at. And the property group has agreed to sell a 50% stake in Woodlands Boulevard for 791 million rand, unlocking capital for reinvestment while reducing its exposure to Gauteng. The transaction follows the collapse of an earlier plan to sell a 50% stake in Hyde Park Corner for about 800 million rands. Now, the sale will see Hyprop retain a 50% interest in the Pretoria-based mall, preserving exposure to its long-term growth as the surrounding catchment continues to expand. Hyprop CEO Monet Wilkins said the deal reflects disciplined capital allocation, allowing Hyprop to recycle capital into opportunities in the Western Cape and Eastern Europe while maintaining exposure to the high-quality asset. Now, the buyers previously partnered with Hyprop on Atterbury Value Mart. Asset management will be shared with existing center and on-site management remaining in place to ensure operational continuity.
How are the markets looking at this hour, Ndauling?
Kicking things off in Asia, stocks in positive territory led by Japan's Nikkei, which continues its post-election rally and reached new highs. Meanwhile, stateside futures are mixed as traders await key jobs and inflation data. Back home, trade also choppy, but higher precious metal prices helped push the all share into the green, closing 0.2% higher overnight. The rand this morning making gains as investors look at riskier assets again. The local unit remains under 16 to the dollar at 15.90, at 21.75 to the pound, and 18.93 to the euro. Meanwhile, in commodities, oil range bound, still trading at that $67 a barrel mark.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you once again just after 8:30. Ndauling Lechela will, as always, in that update, also give you a look ahead to the trading day that awaits you on this Tuesday.
At Discovery Health Medical Scheme, we're for health. For health that's always climbing higher.
Look, Mom, no hands.
And with our Smart Saver series, making healthy choices earns your family up to 20,000 Rand extra cover for those day-to-day
Mommy, I fell off.
moments. We're for rewarding health, for growing health, and for your family's best health.
Catch me, Mom.
Like no other. Join Discovery Health Medical Scheme and add your child from 895 Rand per month. Discovery Health Medical Scheme is a registered medical scheme.
It's time to say yes to Montreux Jazz Festival Franschhoek, happening in Franschhoek from the 27th to the 29th of March 2026. It's 3 days, 2 stages, the Archers and Jazz Village, and a jazz-inspired multi-genre experience, plus a chilled Sunday slowdown to close, featuring the legendary Salif Keita, Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, Sisonke Xonti, Madala Gunene, and Sibusile Xaba. Plus, Mandisi Tyankis, Billy Monama, Kesivan Naidu, Mos Mohale, Vusi Mahlasela, and more than 20 additional artists still to be announced. This is where Montreux meets Africa. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster or visit mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
We're now 086 000 2032.
Yeah, you know what it is to stir a hornet's nest. Stirring a hornet's nest, intellectually at least, is what Kaya seems to have done when he called in a bit earlier on, talking about Operation Dudula, in particular March and March. And the suggestion, if you missed it, from Kaya was that these organizations are, and I'm paraphrasing here, disingenuous in that to highlight the issue of foreign nationals using health facilities with the result that they take strain, they will go to an area where they know that the population composition will likely include a lot of foreign nationals, and they don't go to those areas where the experience would have been different to support their message. So, as you can imagine, lots of people wanting to respond. I'll keep it moving, guys. I will not be trying to get stuck in the conversation. I believe that we have enough, to allow 100 schools of thought to contend. So if you can do the same, keep it moving, make your point, and the next person comes in. Right now, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are on the line. So let's get it going. Let's start with Thabo in Sebokeng. Short and sharp. Good morning to you, Thabo.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
First of all, I don't think Kaya is a South African. He even fumbled his name and called you Kaya, so he's just making up stories.
No, Thabo.
No, it's a fact. Allow me to say it.
No, I know.
Allowed him, no. Actually, allowed him to say it.
Thabo, it's not that deep. It's not that deep.
Okay.
It was a slip of the tongue. He wanted to say good morning, Thulas, and he said good morning, Kaya. But go ahead, make your point.
My point is there's nothing wrong with South Africans reclaiming their spaces. If they want to reclaim Maddington and the South Beach place he's talking about, there's nothing wrong with South Africans reclaiming their spaces. What he's saying now is that we must allow and surrender our country to illegal aliens in our country, and we must live with it. That we cannot accept. If we want to reclaim our spaces, it's our right to do so. We cannot allow our country to be taken away from us watching and doing nothing about it. That's the message I want to say.
All right, Thabo. Thank you for that. That's Thabo in Sebokeng. Let me go to Tsokolo in Harrismith. Good morning to you, Tsokolo.
Good morning.
Very well.
People, now I lost my way. I don't know what to say. I really, these people, I don't know what the South African want. I am lost. What Kaya saying, I don't know. I don't understand the guy going to say. I don't understand, really, I don't understand. What he's trying to say, if he said Dudula, what he's doing is, in other words, is not right, according to the guy. It's not right. I don't know. After that, people, they're going to say the government is doing nothing to check these foreigner people. Actually, what do we want as South Africans? Even yesterday, I heard that EFF they were complaining about the Nigerian that they were killed in Joburg. People, what we want actually. I don't know what to say to us. People, the people, they don't know what they want. But at the end of the day, they're gonna say the government is doing nothing about this.
Just on the EFF, and not that I saw their statement condemning or complaining about the killing of a Nigerian national, but if they did, and this wasn't a killing that happened under lawful circumstances, as in the police were in an operation or it was in private defense, self-defense, why should they not complain about it if it wasn't along those bounds?
They must complain about that to us. These people to us, they are doing a wrong thing. They bring in the drugs in our country. Now they want to say the EFF, they can't see that.
But you arrest them. So the solution is you arrest and then you deport.
No,
arrest and deport.
You cannot arrest people who are fighting with you. These people are dangerous to us. I don't know, guys. You don't see these people. These people are dangerous. The police are doing that because they're trying to defend themselves.
All right.
In other words, you want to say the police, they must leave them to kill them, as they used to do.
Tsokolo, to be honest with you, I didn't read that story in terms of the detail of what happened. I saw that there was a Nigerian national who was killed during a march that involved certain known personalities, but I didn't really go into the level of detail.
Yeah, that's what
I don't want to be strong on an opinion until I've read what the story is. All right, thanks for calling in, though, Tsokolo. Let me go to Mbuyisa in Pretoria. Good morning to you, Mbuyisa.
I'm going to Sabon.
Good morning, Baba. Kunjani?
I'm fine. You know what, man?
Yeah.
I just want to speak about that. I mean, I think you are a witness to that because I personally phoned to the radio station here, crying. You didn't cut me. You gave me about 5 minutes to express myself. When my kids, I can tell you, my child was placed 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know why? Simply because the school, the foreigners in the school, were given a preference. Simply because they can pay and school fees in advance. And these people are not because actually they are staying in bed. I'm told that the very same school is not a feeder zone because I'm staying in the certain suburb. And then is a feeder zone of the foreign national. Someone who comes miles and miles and miles away from South Africa, who does not even vote. Am I a proxy? And then someone like Kaya, you know what? We are giving away the country. That's all I can say. Under these circumstances, I'm telling you, the foreigner is going to shift you from that SABC chair. Thank you very much.
All right, Mbuyisa, thank you for that.
Okay.
That's Mbuyisa.
It's not okay.
Yeah, got you. Mbuyisa in Pretoria. Thank you for that. You'll remember Mbuyisa called in, I think, a couple of weeks ago, just really frustrated about not being able to have the child placed in a school. And I remember the point that Mbuyisa made at the time, that the department is telling me about a feeder zone. Even if I'm from KZN, I'm still within the feeder zone of the school because it's a school in South Africa. And his complaint at the time was that, there's a preference for foreign nationals. And I think he's made that point again. Of course, there was pushback from the Department of Basic Education. And I think at the time we spoke to the department spokesperson in Gauteng, who actually responded to that. All right, I'll take a few more of your calls in a moment, but Rob Byrne is standing by with a traffic update.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just want to start in Midrand this morning. If you're coming out of Blue Hills on Olifantsfontein, it's about as bad as it can be. A really big queue from the R55 all the way down through to the N1 highway. A couple of traffic light issues there. Also exiting Midrand on the main road, there's a crash near McGillgrave Road, so between Kyalami and Lone Hill. Some extra delays there as well. N12 out of Benoni through Boksburg stays busy. N12 and R24 routes then combining with some heavy pressure into Galuli's interchange, and roadworks on the N17 around the Gosforth Toll Plaza. So once you get past sort of Osborne Road on your way to Joburg, that gets really heavy as well. Pretoria N1 section looking all right this morning. No, nothing too drastic or Or too badly backed up through there. Durban, 2 crash scenes, both inbound, one on the N3 at Spaghetti Junction, so that's heavy from the M13 Paradise Valley. The other crash is towards the Bluff on the M7 at Bel Air and Wakesley Road, and that's a really big queue that's coming down from the Queensborough area. A lot of traffic on local routes jamming, I guess maybe trying to avoid that M7, but jamming up quite badly, Sarnia and Wakesley, trying to get around back into that N7 as well. The Chatsworth-Higginson Highway out to Grimsby Road across the N2, very slow. It's Grimsby and Leicester. Those traffic lights are down. And the N3, Key Ridge up to Cliffdale remains busy with at least one of the 2 broken down vehicles still there. Cape Town, no traffic lights out at Somerset West on the N2 at Victoria Street. That is a monumental backlog, both directions going out from Macassar or coming in from Gordons Bay and Strand. That N2 really under pressure. It is the pressure route when the traffic lights are working, but without them it's heavy. And a lot of pressure on the N7, both ways to Bosmansdam Road. Northbound you'd expect that from Goodwood, but southbound from Dunoon is unusually heavy. And there's a really big backlog at maybe traffic light related. Stellenbosch Arterial, Robert Sobukwe, top of the airport, trying to get onto 35th Avenue up into Bishop Lavis. Really heavy backlogs on both of those routes. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Sea Robbers are on a real mission to go back to their days of happy people. But Bahlabane Bantwa say they are only going to Orlando Stadium to collect 3 points. This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Orlando Pirates versus Marumo Cannons this Saturday, 14 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me continue with the calls. Let me go to Skhumbuzo in Durban. Good morning to you, Skhumbuzo.
Good morning, Thulas.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Yes. You're speaking to Skhumbuzo from Verulam. I'm currently in Komati Port, going to be crossing over to Mozambique, Thulas.
Yes.
Okay? You see, in Mozambique, when we're in Mozambique, Thulas, we are made to feel that we are not welcome and we are not from around this place. So, you know, it really frustrates me a lot listening to people like Kaya trying to advocate for foreigners. Thulas, I think, according to me, we should be supporting Operation Dudula in every way because they are just doing so much for us. They're doing work which is supposed to be done by the military, the migration services, the cross-border management authority. So it really frustrates me listening to people like Kaya Thulas.
Okay.
That's just my take.
No, I hear you, Skhumbuzo. Are you making your way to Mozambique?
Yes.
All right, drive safely.
Thanks.
All right,
Thanks
that's Skhumbuzo there on the way to Mozambique, weighing in on what Kaya said earlier on. Mluleki, let me hear from you. What's your take?
Good morning, Bob Thulasizwe.
Good morning, Bob.
And to SAFM listeners, this is the first time caller.
Ow, Ndoda. Yes, you are late, man.
No, I always listen to you.
What took you so long?
But then today is the D-Day.
It took Kaya for you to call.
Exactly. Because
Kaya, please go ahead.
I've got lived experiences, and also I just wanted to engage him, if there was a platform, to say, if he's asking why Operation Dudula and the likes are going to areas where there's a concentration of foreign nationals, he's making a point to say we South Africans are lazy. I think he is lazy because he's saying we should be conducting researches. If he knows about conducting a research study, how will you, when you want to conduct a research study about a municipality, and then you go and collect your data in Ekurhuleni, what are you going to find? If you want to conduct a study about inequalities in South Africa, and then you go to Sandton, you collect your data from, let's say, we want to evaluate the inequalities between black and white races of South Africa. You go to Sandton, conduct research on white people living in Sandton and black people in Sandton, and you leave out Alexandra. What is it that you are going to take to get? Because you need to go to where black South Africans are vulnerable.
But in a way, Mlulek, in a way, you are making the point that Kaya was making. That his point is there's not that comparison before you conclude that foreign nationals are overwhelming the South African healthcare system. You go to where there's a concentration in terms of population, but you don't then go the comparative approach that you are advocating for. In a way, that's what Kaya was talking about.
Yes, but Thulasizwe, however, you cannot go to an area where you will not find concentrated black struggling people. If you go to Sandton and then you evaluate black people in Sandton and black people and white people in Sandton, you are more or less going to get the same standard of living. Yes, they will tell you about their frustrations, their issues, their bills. They've got different challenges to people in Alexandra. So if you want to make a distinction between whether are we equal or unequal, go to a place where black people are struggling.
Gotcha.
So same thing with foreign nationals. There's no way you can go to Umhlanga and then you want to identify what issues are being caused by the concentration of foreign nationals, and then onto lived experiences, like the gentleman who called in from PE. I also have a wife who is a medical practitioner, and currently she is on a registrar program in pediatrics, and she's rotating around hospitals in KZN. This had been the conversations we've been having with her since school.
All right.
Speaking of, yes, sir.
I do need to move on. I want to take a call from Paul before I get to the news. But thank you for making the point you've made this morning. Mluleki in Durban. Paul, good morning to you. Short and sharp, straight to it.
Good morning, bro. My man is something that is a little bit different, but it has to do with healthcare.
Yeah.
This morning, my neighbor requested me to assist him with transport to take him to a clinic. It is raining cats and dogs outside here in Bloemfontein. On arrival at the clinic's name is Mabana Clinic. People were standing on a queue outside of the yard of the clinic in this rain. They're dripping wet. I don't know why can't they just send somebody to open the gate for the patient, because I'm of the opinion that those people that are at the gate today waiting to be serviced, they are patients. There were women who are pregnant that I saw. There were women with children.
Yeah.
Indicating that they are taking these children to the clinic. Men, my neighbor, I don't want to talk much about him, but he's very ill. He's there. The gates are locked. Imagine, at around 6:45, when I dropped them off there, the gates are still locked. It is raining.
And yet people are queuing.
That it can maybe utilize inside there. Why can't somebody think about it? Really, it makes me hurt. Please follow it up.
Gotcha.
When I see Thulasizwe.
Yeah.
It is the Mabana Clinic in Bloemfontein.
All right.
What time do they open? Why can't they open? Sometimes in winter, you find the people outside there.
Sure.
Nurses will come at their own leisure time.
Yeah. No, that is totally.
Now you are going to attend to a patient who's dripping wet.
Yeah. Paul, thank you for calling it in. That's Paul in Bloemfontein. Mabana Clinic in Bloemfontein is where his concern is, where it seems and it sounds to me as if sometimes it's just empathy, right, on the part of those people who manage an institution to say, you can't let people stand outside and the gates are locked and they're getting rained on. These people are already coming to you to get assistance with health care. And, to the best of your ability, you should ameliorate for the conditions and just make sure that they're as comfortable as possible. All it takes really is just one leader in that clinic, in that situation, saying, you know what, there's that shelter, there's that room, there's that space, there's that hall. Why don't you wait and form a snaking queue such that you are sheltered from the elements? And that makes a world of difference, right? Just that Ubuntu leadership. It doesn't need to come from a directive from a premier or an MEC. Anyway, and Musa on standby.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Thabo Bester approaches High Court on his prison transfer and analyst weighs in on O'Sullivan appearing before the ad hoc committee. Good morning. Convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester is expected to approach the High Court in Pretoria today to make an urgent application challenging his transfer from Kgoshi-Mampuru prison to the Ebongweni Super Maximum Prison in KwaZulu-Natal. Last month, he filed court papers on the basis that he's facing difficulties consulting with his legal team from Kokstad Prison and that his transfer was unlawful. In his urgent application, Bester will be asking for an order that the Department of Correctional Services immediately transfer him to a facility in Gauteng. Sasha Naidu reports.
Convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester wants the High Court in Pretoria to declare the Department of Correctional Services decision to transfer him from the Kgoshi-Mampuru Correctional Centre to one of the toughest prisons in the country, Ebongweni in Kokstad in KwaZulu-Natal, unconstitutional and invalid. Bester's lawyers claim that they were not informed of his transfer. They want him to be returned to any correctional centre in Gauteng for the duration of his current escape trial in Bloemfontein.
Political analyst Goodenough Mashego says he anticipates that independent forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan's testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee today will be a waste of time. O'Sullivan had earlier requested to appear virtually, citing security concerns. He will be questioned on allegations that he impersonated an official from the police watchdog IPID and that he was part of a task team that plotted against the former police commissioner Khumutso Patlane. Mashego says O'Sullivan is likely to be very vague in his responses to the committee.
I don't even think today's inquisition is going to take off, given the character of Paul O'Sullivan. First of all, when you appear before any committee that has been established to investigate something, you cannot lay the conditions to say I'm going to appear on condition that these other political parties are not going to ask questions from me, and also that condition of saying you wanted to appear at the South African embassy instead of appearing where everyone else is appearing. So I think we are likely to have the situation like that of Robert McBride, whereby somebody refuses to give a lot of information about themselves. And if parliamentarians are going to bend backward to accommodate Paul O'Sullivan, it's going to be a waste of time, because at the end of the day, he's going to select the questions he's going to answer, and we are not going to get a clear picture about the allegations made about him.
5 people accused of illegally recruiting people to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war are expected to return to the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today. They face charges of contravening the regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. The 5 are 39-year-old Nonkululeko Patricia Mantula, a well-known radio presenter, along with Thulani Mazibuko, Xolani Ntuli, Siphamandla Shabalala and Sfiso Mabena. Puseletso Mokwena reports.
The state alleges that Mantula facilitated the recruitment and the travel of her co-accused to join the Russian military. They were intercepted by the Hawks at OR Tambo International Airport in late November last year, just moments before boarding a flight to Russia via the UAE. The matter was postponed to today to allow the state to conduct further investigations, including the analysis of digital evidence seized during their arrest.
The University of Pretoria's Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control has issued an urgent alert. It says the recent flooding in Limpopo, Mpumalanga and Mozambique has created a spike in mosquito breeding habitats. The Institute's project manager, Dr. Taneshka Kruger, warns stagnant floodwaters are placing millions of people at risk, potentially reversing years of progress toward malaria elimination. The Institute is now working alongside the National Health Department to deploy vector control and intensive health promotion drives.
The University of Pretoria Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control is ready to provide research evidence, specialist guidelines, technical expertise. We advise on vector surveillance planning, how these teams working on the ground should approach the vector surveillance, which then gives important data toward the control program on how to better, look at risk, support malaria control decisions, making that urgent decisions, anything that needs to happen immediately.
And finally, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has told his Labour Party MPs that he will not resign, despite calls from the party's Scottish leader. Concern had been growing within the party over his judgment to appoint Peter Mandelson, a former friend of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, as Britain's ambassador to Washington. The BBC's Chris Mason reports.
The Prime Minister has had a political near-death experience and survived. For now at least. At various points he looked like he might be done for, and imminently. If the Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar's desire to dislodge Sir Keir Starmer had had public accomplices, that could have been it. Of course, missives of loyalty from Cabinet Ministers towards the Prime Minister shouldn't be newsworthy. They only become so when the opposite seems feasible. This has been a deeply wounding week for Sir Keir, and he is weaker for it.
Recapping the top story, convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester is expected to approach the High Court in Pretoria today to make an urgent application challenging his transfer from Kgosi Mampuru Prison to the Ebongweni Super Maximum Prison in KwaZulu-Natal. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In the month of secret admirers, it's no secret that Outsurance could save you money on your car insurance. Like 32-year-old Parushka, who saves a whopping 729 Rand on her 2020 Haval H2. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We kick it off in Midrand with some heavy traffic on the Olifantsfontein Road from Blue Hills down to the N1 highway. It's about as bad as it can be. Joburg and 12 and R24 roads coming into Galuli's are heavy, and the Mike 1 from Boyson's, no gaps all the way through to Grayston Drive. Inbound to Durban, the N3 stays slow into Spaghetti Junction after a crash. The M7 through Queensborough down towards the N2 is fairly heavily backed up after an earlier collision there as well. And a major delay from Howick in towards Pietermaritzburg, an earlier crash at Town Hill, backlogging traffic way beyond the Hilton exit. Cape Town, some real pressure in the Motterdam area, just north of the airport. Stellenbosch Arterial onto 35th and Robert Sobukwe coming up from the Valhalla side towards Stellenbosch Arterial Junction. That's heavy. Some real issues there trying to get into that Bishop Lavis area. N7 South, dreadful this morning from Dunoon all the way to Bosmansdam Road. And if you're around Baden Powell Drive, a crash at the N2 causing some delays in front of Khayelitsha. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Well, let's go now straight to the Formula One story that's making headlines. Well, it's about to get a whole lot faster. Esteban Ocon reaching 355 kilometers in Barcelona. And it's a big one today. Potchefstroom is where the Proteas women begin their World Cup build-up. They host Pakistan. All the details just before 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 8, it is the third hour of the morning brief here on SAFM 104 to 107, and it is absolutely great to be in your company. As you can imagine, the lines are lit. The lines are lit. All your calls coming through, as well as WhatsApp voice notes. I will make time to take those. But as we always do, let me start by reading a few of the messages that you have sent through on the WhatsApp number 0614 104 107. There's one from Pam Lenton in Etegwini who says, dealing with the master's office is an absolute nightmare. My mother, who died in 1991, left a small inheritance. And as I say that, the message jumps. Let me go back to it. Left a small inheritance for both my nieces to be paid out to them once they reached the age of 21. They are both now in their 40s and have still not been paid their inheritance. They have been pushed from pillar to post for years at great cost and inconvenience, having to take time off from work and travel great distances from Durban to Pietermaritzburg numerous times, as well as other centers, but to no avail. Always some feeble excuse is given as a reason for the delay. It's an absolutely unforgivable and disgraceful situation. This is my niece's inheritance to which they are entitled and should have received years ago, says Pam Lenton in eThekwini. On that conversation about dealing with the Master's Office and what your experience has been in the wake of the Johannesburg Attorneys Association raising some concerns about, the staffing and the leadership of the office of the Master of the High Court. And then there's one from Ndibu in Tsanin who says, Master's Office in Polokwane, officials are little gods. You drive 200 kilometers only to be told that there's no water. It took my estate 4 years to settle the estate. Your lawyer has to have connections in there. And if they do, your case won't take even 6 months. Mine was from the ABSA legal team. Obviously, they can't take shortcut route, says Ndibu in Tsanin, weighing in on the situation with the Master's Office. So keep the conversation going. Someone else here, for example, says it's Tsiko Khadebe, ka Phutadichaba, Qwaqwa Maluti Phofung municipality, who says, in this country, criminals are doing things, and Ramaphosa is not prepared to do anything about that. Why is he not imposing corporal punishment with immediate effect? Asks Tseko Khadebe. Tseko, yeah, it's an interesting question. He doesn't have the power. The short answer to it is that Cyril Ramaphosa, as powerful as he may be, he doesn't have the power to impose corporal punishment because it is outlawed by our constitution. We have a right to be free from violence from both public and private sources, bodily integrity and all of those issues. So it's that conversation that, I was telling you a couple of weeks ago, that when I see Groenewald, Peter Groenewald raising it, what are you talking about? You of all people should know that this is just simply not possible within our current framework unless you change the framework altogether. Then it's a different conversation. Let's keep the conversation going. 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032 or your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Get Spar super savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Buy 1.8 litre Spar ice cream for $49.99, save 25 Rand. Or 1 litre Danone Ultramel custard for $24.99, save 10 Rand. Now that's super savings. Prices valid from 9 till 22 February. While stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
16 minutes after 8, the energy analyst Chris Yelland is warning that electricity theft and non-payment are likely to rise following NERSA's approval of steep electricity price increases over the next 2 years. NERSA has approved electricity tariff increases of 8.76% in April this year and 8.83% in April 2027. I don't know, I'm supposed to round that off to 8.9%, but there you have it, 8.9% in April 2027. And this is significantly higher than the previously approved 5.36% for this year and 6.19% for the next year. The regulator says the increases are necessary after it miscalculated Eskom's tariffs for the 2025-26 to 2027-28 financial years. The hikes come after the regulator admitted to those errors in its original tariff calculations. Let's pick up the conversation with Chris Yelland. Good morning to you, Chris, and thank you for your time. Just, it's worthwhile, Chris, to restate and recap how we got here. How did we get here? Tariff increases happen on a yearly basis, and I think we've come to accept that, painful as it is, that there's likely going to be a tariff increase. But this one is particularly hard to stomach because of the circumstances in which it came.
Yeah, let me just recap a little bit as to what is actually going on here. Eskom applies for price increases every 3 years or so. And the last one, gave price increases for the 25-26 calendar year, the 26-27, and the 27-28 financial years at Eskom. So it's a 3-year price determination. Eskom, when it saw the determination, it took the matter to the courts and pointed out a 107 billion rand mistake in NERSA's calculations, according to Eskom. But before the matter was heard in court, Eskom and NERSA met behind closed doors in secret and negotiated a settlement of this matter to the tune of 54 billion rand. So Eskom and NERSA then approached the judge and said, look, please, can you make this settlement, out of court settlement, an order of the court? The judge looked at the matter and heard some representations from AfriForum and the Minerals Council of South Africa and actually said no to Eskom and NERSA. The judge will not make this an order of the court because this was done behind closed doors, out of the public eye, and it's a matter that concerns every single South African and business and industry as well as individuals. So the judge sent this thing back to NERSA to take a look at again and basically told NERSA and Eskom that this settlement figure of 54 billion rand was a total thumbsuck and that there was absolutely no evidence provided as to how they got to this figure. Anyway, I sent it back to NERSA. NERSA then had to do public hearings and do this matter in the open. And guess what? They came up with exactly the same settlement figure, 54 billion rand. But in the meantime, Eskom had upped its game and was now asking for 76 billion rand. But there we are. So we're sitting, where NERSA has made the same determination of a 54 billion rand mistake that has to be recovered from the customers in the next few years. And unfortunately, that's not the end of it, because there's another 40 billion rand that the court has ordered from previous mistakes made by NERSA that still also have to be recovered. So the total amount that has to be recovered is the 54 billion rand plus 40 billion rand, which is 90 billion rand, which is going to have to be recovered from the customers of electricity over the next few years.
My goodness.
There's where we are at the moment.
What do you gauge to be the impact of the higher than initially anticipated tariff increases? Already, I was saying, the conversation about electricity affordability is amplifying, and you're hearing it even from government leaders. Not that you're hearing what exactly is the plan, but at least the issue is being acknowledged. Many people won't be able to afford.
Yeah, look, the impact of this 94 billion rand set of mistakes is that the price of electricity over the next 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, is going to be much higher than would otherwise be the case if there were not these mistakes. And the impact is obviously far-reaching, both on individual customers, person in the street who buys electricity from Eskom, also impacts customers who buy from municipalities because the municipal prices are strongly linked to the Eskom price increases. And of course, it affects not just individuals, but business and industry and mining and agriculture and all the entire economy. So we're going to be seeing above inflation, significantly above inflation rate increases, for the foreseeable future. And there are a number of impacts of this. So, for example, increased levels of theft and non-payment due to the unaffordability of electricity. We're likely to see these increase. We're likely to see municipal arrear debt increase significantly as a result of these price increases. We're likely to see businesses and industries closing down because the higher price of electricity is making their business unaffordable, especially energy-intensive industries like steel and smelting and aluminium and these so-called energy-intensive industries become less competitive. So there's far-reaching impacts. Now, I think the minister is painfully aware and has actually indicated publicly that he's working to reduce the price of electricity. How he's going to do this, I don't know, because all the pressures, including this 94 billion rand mistake, lead to increased prices. But there are people are approaching industry, businesses approaching, NERSA and approaching the minister and approaching Eskom, begging for special price agreements, negotiated price agreements. But you've got to understand that for every time that you give a special price agreement to somebody at lower than normal, somebody else has to pick up the difference, and it's not going to be Eskom because Eskom doesn't have the money for this.
While you are on that point, isn't it the situation that the energy-intensive users, some of them at least, have got a certain arrangement with Eskom in a manner to try and, stimulate the economy and keep manufacturing going? Is there a scheme like that, or did I imagine it?
No, there are existing special price agreements, for example, with South 32's aluminium smelters and others like silicon smelters, etc. And these are funded by the other customers of electricity. In other words, because they're giving a discount of electricity to these big energy-intensive industries, other industries and other customers, including the person in the street, is having to pay extra. But we're now in a situation where these smelters are saying that's not enough. They need the price of electricity to literally halve from what they are currently paying under a special price agreement, a negotiated price. Yeah. It needs to halve down to a value of about 62 cents a kilowatt hour, which is actually a 70% discount on what they're getting at the moment. So these are now additional special pricing agreements. The question is who is going to pay for these additional ones?
Chris, I'm out of time, but I do need to ask you one more question about accountability for, we've been calling it a multi-billion rand blunder, but call it what you will. What happened that has led to this situation that we are facing? What have you heard? What do you know about accountability? Or is NERSA just happy to ride it out and hope the damage to the brand is not so bad, and in 2 years' time we will all have forgotten and moved on and nothing will have changed?
Yeah, in terms of accountability, what I can tell you is what NERSA have said publicly, and that is that they are conducting an inquiry into this blunder and that they will be holding people accountable. But it's now many, many months down the line, and we haven't heard the outcome of the investigation. And I'm not sure whether we ever will. They do say that they're investigating it and they're going to hold somebody accountable, but it still hasn't been, we haven't been advised the outcome.
It must be nice in South Africa, that pacifier that says we are investigating, and then you can go away for a very long time. Chris Yelland, thank you. Energy analyst Chris Yelland there. Yeah, pacifier. That's what, it's from the playbook of politicians. We will leave no stone unturned. We will leave no turn unstoned. And that's it, really. That's the last we hear from you in terms of accountability.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter.
No worries, let's go. We're teeing off in an hour.
Great. We're taking your car.
Can't. It's already taken.
What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago.
I sold it to Weber Cars and made a whole lot of green.
Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car.
Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be dof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
Rafiq, a 40-year-old Outsurance client, knows all about saving on car insurance.
Outsurance, they're actually giving something back to you. Being with them, I've saved so much money. 899. That's not small change, it's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
An incredible 899 Rand monthly saving on Rafiq's 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4. Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. 35-year-old Zanai saves 1,180 Rand a month on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. And the out bonus she'll get?
It is close to 6,500 Rand in 3 years if I'm claim-free.
Ready to get more out? SMS out to 30754. Enjoy benefits like panic assistance, which sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you are. Get a quote now and see how much Outsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Hashtag your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let me take a few of your voice notes that have been, lining up over the last while. Let me start exactly where we left off with Chris Yelland, the issue of NERSA, Eskom, and the tariff increases.
Good morning, Tulas. It's Nicholas from the NERSA thing, the application process and the blunder that they've made. It's a very, very serious and costly blunder. I'm one of the people that works at the municipality, and I deal with these applications.
I think we took your voice note. Thank you for making that point a bit earlier.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. This is Ekmatebo. Thulasizwe, when it comes to electricity, I don't think we can afford it. The voice note was all right. Politicians have lost the touch with the people of South Africa. There is no way that you can afford that. With that minimum wage, we can't. It's very expensive. Electricity, don't even talk for them, Tulas. Good morning. This is
Yeah, I agree. I don't talk for them. Absolutely don't, because I know the pain. It has really become really, really unaffordable. You look at your bill every month and you say nothing has changed by way of consumption, but my goodness, it has really become really, really steep, has the electricity price. Let me take this one. It has to do with Gwede Mantashe. What about Gwede Mantashe?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. This is VA from Bukhari City, Krugersdorp. Thulasizwe, yesterday I was listening to Gwede Mantashe. That old man is detached with reality. He is still standing on his point that the youth of South Africa are lazy. I was listening to him yesterday. Thank you.
All right, so you've given me a challenge. I'll look out for that. I take it it's when he was speaking at the mining Indaba, yeah? So I'll look out for that to hear if he is standing by his comments, despite their widespread condemnation, including condemnation from within the ANC itself. But yeah, as you say, I haven't heard it, so I'm going to listen to that clip, that speech that he gave at the mining Indaba in Cape Town, and see if that's where he then made the further comments that you allude to. 8:30 and Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the EFF says the testimony of independent forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan before Parliament's ad hoc committee today could shed some light on the broader network of political interference within the criminal justice system. O'Sullivan initially requested to appear before the committee virtually, citing safety concerns. Suspended Ekurhulene's legal head Kemi Bahari will continue his testimony before the Matlanga Commission today. Yesterday, he was questioned about why he felt the need to tell former city manager Imogen Mashazi that an extension was being sought for Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkwanazi's suspension. And the University of the Western Cape has launched a campaign to fight student hunger. The university anticipates that about 10,000 students will require food support in the first 2 months of the academic year alone. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Couple of big stories that we're tracking. Obviously, this protest around Knights and Primrose blocking roads, multiple routes in the area between Germiston and Boksburg. If you do have to travel that way, it might be better to use the highways rather than those local routes. Highways not affected, but a lot of local routes through Primrose and Knights, just east of Germiston, are badly affected. A lot of traffic into Santon going in through Morningside, Rivonia Road South, and South Road coming westbound into that Rivonia Road. Very heavy backlogs through there. The other big story is the crash approaching Pietermaritzburg's Town Hill between Hilton and Town Hill. The road is still closed. Major backlogs from Sidara. I've just put a video up on x.com at Traffic SA. It's about a 30-second video, and if you're watching a 30-second video of a traffic queue, it doesn't seem like much, but it's enormous. There's a lot of traffic on the side roads as well, the alternative routes coming off at Sidara or coming off at Hilton, working your way into Pietermaritzburg. So Howick, Hilton through to PMB, just maybe sit tight. You don't want to get yourself caught up in that mess at this stage. The other big issue that we're watching around the country, Cape Town, the traffic lights down, top of the airport, Robert Sobukwe, 35th Avenue, where they sort of junction and go up into Bishop Lane. It's those lights that are down. The N1, very heavy this morning from Brackenfell through to the city centre. Still plenty of traffic on Marine Drive as well, coming out of Tableview all the way through Pardon Island. And if you're driving Mpumalanga today, Creel is on a lockdown again because of protesting. Multiple routes closed in and around that Creel area, going in from the N12 or going up from the Kinross area, all blocked off into Creel. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So no shortage of cricket action, be it the World Cup with the Proteas or the build-up to the World Cup by the Proteas women, and that's in Tlokwe, in Potchefstroom.
Yes, Thulas. Absolutely. It's cricket for you, and there's more cricket. So no complaints from the cricket lovers. It's a full menu of cricket that will keep you, locked in for a long time. We'll look forward to the Proteas women this morning beginning their World Cup prep. They host Pakistan tonight in the first of 3 T20 internationals in Potchefstroom. Captain Laura Wolfart says the series is a key part of fine-tuning combinations ahead of the Women's T20 World Cup in England later this year. South Africa and Pakistan are in the same World Cup group, with the opening match starting at 6 o'clock this evening. You can catch it live on SABC Sport. More cricket. Lungisani Ngidi starred as the Proteas secured a 57-run win over Canada to open their ICC T20 World Cup, with South Africa setting a 214-run wicket stand. Ngidi struck with the first ball of the second innings, finishing with 4 for 31 in 4 overs. He says the wickets behaved.
Yeah, we did play the way we thought it would. Obviously, we had played a series against India before, and with the new ball it did do quite a bit, so we knew that it was going to be tough up front for the new guys. They came out and said that, and then in the middle obviously they had strung together a few good overs, and that's T20 cricket. You got to absorb the pressure, transfer when you can, and that's exactly what the guys did. They came off and told us that it's still not easy to bat out there if you're hitting a good line and length, and then obviously the change-ups were also a bit challenging, but we've got world-class finishers, so they were able to do the job. But I think having them four down, after the power play, that was a massive bonus for us.
Let's go to soccer news. Orbit College head coach Pogiso Makoya has criticized the decision to resume their Nedbank Cup fixture just a day after it was halted due to severe weather at the King Zwelithini Stadium. The round of 32 clash against Golden Arrows abandoned at half-time after lightning made conditions unsafe for players. Makoya voiced frustrations at the quick turnaround.
It's not fair for football. I mean, we're professional. We cannot leave the stadium after 3 hours and get to the hotel 10:30. We expect us to play at 11. We had to write emails until 1 o'clock for them to change the time to 1 o'clock. So mentally, the players were not ready. We gave everything yesterday, 45 minutes. What was forcing everyone to play this game so early? So I wish I could be heroes, maybe a home team. They got the advantage because the year here they didn't travel. We traveled from Rustenburg to Joburg. Joburg in the flight coming here. Extra day, we don't rest, there's no freshness.
And finally, Formula One could be heading into its fastest era yet. Esteban Ocon hit a staggering 355 kilometers an hour during pre-season testing in Barcelona, giving a glimpse of what the sport's 2026 regulation reset could deliver. With new low-drag aerodynamics and more electric power, drivers are reporting relentless straight-line speeds. And that's the speed of how your sport comes to an end on the Morning Brief. We'll have Full Throttle ahead with John Hedeker, and that's around 12:30 for SAFM. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you. I guess it's a case of you can't keep a good country down. U.S. tariffs or no U.S. tariffs, our agri sector is soaring.
That's right, Tula. Surprisingly so, SA agricultural exports climbed more than 10% to a record $15.1 billion last year, defying those higher U.S. tariffs after the suspension of duty-free access under AGOA at the time. Fourth quarter exports rose 7% year-on-year to $3.4 billion, driven by higher volumes and firmer prices for products such as citrus, grapes, maize, wine, and berries. Exports to the US, however, declined, falling 39% in the fourth quarter after tariffs rose to 30%, although full-year exports to the US declined by just 3%, helped by a surge during the 90-day tariff pause earlier in 2025. Now, Agbiz chief economist Wandile Sihlobo told News24 logistical bottlenecks, particularly at the port of Cape Town, weighed on some fruit exporters, though overall performance remained resilient as other ports functioned better. Africa remained South Africa's largest agricultural market, followed by Asia, the Middle East, and the EU.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a case of some of the produce that we produce in this country, you can't really replace it.
Yes,
there's a place for it in the market, whether you like it or not. And we saw that with the citrus, yes, yeah. Thank you, thank you for coming through. The citrus and the exemptions that were then made in the United States, and I hear now that the minister John Steenhuisen and his team have worked out such that our grapes will be on the tables in South Korea. So only good news for us. Let's talk about Vodacom continuing to bet on Egypt. You're saying that they've acquired additional spectrum in that country.
Yeah, so the company is doubling down on the North African nation, securing more radio spectrum to support fast-growing demand for data in the country. The group says its Egyptian business has been awarded additional spectrum as part of a long-term government investment program, and the deal will be paid over several years and is valued at roughly $350 million. Now, Egypt has become one of Vodacom's strongest growth markets, contributing almost a quarter of group revenue. In the last quarter, service revenue in Egypt jumped nearly 40%, helped by strong customer growth, mobile money services, and continued investment in network upgrades, including 5G. Now, the new spectrum strengthens Vodacom's position in Egypt and signals confidence in the country's long-term digital growth story.
Lastly, Dowling, what kind of a trading day can we expect in the markets, given everything that you and I have covered this morning?
The local markets likely to open mixed today as caution remains and that capping gains and weighing on markets. The rand, however, trending firmer at 15.92 to the dollar, 21.77 to the pound, and 18.95 to the euro. Oil slightly on the back foot as investors await another round of talks between the US and Iran. It's currently trading at just below $68 a barrel. And then back to equities, stateside. Futures are in negative territory after yesterday's positive finish. Focus has shifted to the payrolls report, with many analysts pricing in an increase in the unemployment rate, and that really weighing on sentiment over in the US. Lastly, in Asia, stocks trading in the green today. The Japanese Nikkei leading the gains as investors cheer Prime Minister Takaichi's snap election victory.
All right, Ndawleng, thank you for today. That's Ndawleng Lechela. She's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you are not just buying a plan, you are also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover as well as a transport, grocery and unveiling benefit. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
17 minutes to 9. I was making the point earlier on that the State of the Nation address, which is to be held on Thursday, is always that opportunity to flag and highlight issues that require urgent policy intervention. And, many people and organizations don't miss that opportunity to raise and flag issues. And the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation is doing exactly that. And ahead of SONA, it has submitted recommendations to the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition calling for urgent reform of the country's gambling legislation. The foundation warns that outdated laws are failing to protect children and vulnerable adults from the rapid expansion of online and mobile gambling, compounded by pervasive advertising and weak enforcement mechanisms. Let's speak to Lebogang Sioheng, who is Advocacy, Communication and Prevention Manager at the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. When we say that our legislation and our laws and regulations are outdated on this issue of gambling, what do we mean exactly? How does that manifest?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So the National Gambling Act of 2004 obviously was gazetted in 2004, and this was before the rise of online betting and the evolution of technology. And so the provisions that are made in the National Gambling Act of 2004 are outdated if you pivot and fast forward to 2026. And the provisions that are made there specifically on minors are more on a brick and mortar land-based protection of minors, but now, with the easy access of online betting, there's very little in terms of regulation and legislation when it comes to how those vulnerable groups are then protected. At the moment, the operators rely on what they call the Know Your Customer or the KYC principle, which isn't necessarily regulated or enforced when it comes to the protection of minors and the protection of players who are playing on those particular sites.
So, if I understand you correctly, we made laws when a minor, a 16-year-old, would have needed to come up to the door of a casino and try and enter, and then the operators of that casino would have the wherewithal to say, hang on, show me your ID. No, you're not allowed, go home.
Absolutely, Thulasizwe, you've just hit the nail on the head. Yes, absolutely. So the laws were based on physical premises rather than the digital space, and so that's where we are finding that there is a huge gap and a loophole, because a lot of minors, what they're doing is to circumvent the protection measure that's put in place at the moment, is using the ID number to verify that you are over the age of 18. But we are finding minors circumventing that by using their parents' ID numbers to then access betting accounts. I'll just give you an example. We had about last year a learner in Mpumalanga who was betting online using their parents' ID number and cashed out 25,000 Rand and brought that to the school. So that now this shows that there is a strengthening that needs to be made in terms of player protection, not only just using IDs, but using facial recognition, using fingerprint verification as well, over and above just the ID, because these minors have managed to find a way to circumvent just using the ID number as a verifier that you're over the age of 18.
Say a bit more about those measures, because I found them interesting. You're saying that they constitute international best practice. So share some of those best practices and what you are calling for in the South African context.
Absolutely. So in the South African context, again, it's taking those principles and putting them into regulation and legislation or license conditions for compliance. But also, just to highlight something, Thulasizwe, is the fact that we've got online betting in South Africa, which is legal and regulated, and then there's another aspect called gaming, which is loot boxes and video games. Now, the World Health Organization did declare it as part of the international diseases, ICD, and they've classified it as a disorder. So you're not necessarily wagering or betting, but you are playing games, because it has the same chemical reward system that works in the brain and that affects the prefrontal cortex of the brain of a minor that it would of an adult. And so in South Africa at the moment, gaming is not necessarily regulated, but if it's not regulated or enforced, like other countries such as the Netherlands, Australia and China, who have put in restrictions when it comes to gaming, by the time these minors turn 18 and able to bet online responsibly, because those games kind of mirror each other. It's just over 18, you're able to then wager. We have a bit of a problem in our hands. So we definitely do need to tighten the regulations and the legislation around gaming so that the vulnerable groups are not necessarily exposed. But parents do have a role to play in terms of monitoring the type of games that their children are playing. Are they stimulating literacy and numeracy, or is just games for the sake of games?
Lastly then, how much of a hearing and what kind of a hearing are you receiving from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition? And importantly, as President Ramaphosa and the team prepare for State of the Nation address, how much of a boost are you hoping to gain from that, including on issues such as advertising, gambling advertising that you say has proliferated quite significantly of late?
Yes, so we have made submissions to the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. I know the National Gambling Policy Council has been sitting, and so we're hoping that these measures will then be taken forward into Parliament, into the National Council of Provinces, for the necessary amendments to be made to ensure that we are protecting the vulnerables, the minors, the elderly, the social grant recipients, as well as the NSFAS funded students as well, to ensure that they are protected in a way so that technology does not take over, and then we find ourselves having people out there that may be addicted to problem gambling or gaming for that matter. So those submissions have been made, and we're just hoping that they'll be able to then convert into regulation and legislation amendments.
All right, thank you for your time this morning. That's Lebohang Sioheng, who is Advocacy, Communication and Prevention Manager at the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A couple of things that are going to save you a lot of time. One is if you're travelling between Germiston and Boksburg, try and keep it on the highways rather than local routes. There's a lot of protesting and a lot of road closures associated with this protest just sort of east of Germiston towards Boksburg in the Primrose and Knights area. A lot of roads closed, including part of Vitt Road and, importantly, Main Reef Road as well. Shamrock Road also being closed down. So sort of just north of Germiston and then east in towards that Knights area. Just want to avoid those routes. A lot of congestion on the routes that are open as motorists have to divert that way. Another big story is this crash coming into Pietermaritzburg this morning between Hilton and Town Hill, between Hilton and the Peter Brown exit, if you like. It's very heavy southbound from Hilton. Expect lane closures now. So the road was closed a little bit earlier, and that's primarily the reason for the big backlog. A lot of trucks here. It's going to take forever to normalise this situation. You're back as far as Sadara and the Hilton Road and the Old Road coming off Sadara or coming from the N3 Hilton. Both of those routes into Pietermaritzburg are heavy with all that diverting traffic. So if you're going Howick, Hilton into Pietermaritzburg, if you can, just delay your trip through there because it is quite terrible. In and out of Cape Town through Somerset West, a bit of a nightmare as well. Traffic lights down at Victoria Street Junction. It's a really big junction, high traffic zone, and backed up coming in from Strand and out from Macassar. Really heavy getting through there. And no traffic lights as well on 35th Avenue at Bishop Laver. So feeding into that Robert Sobukwe coming up from the Moderdam or Valhalla side. Really heavy backlogs heading up towards Stellenbosch Arterial Junction. Highways around Cape Town still busy as well, particularly the N1 with queues still and busy conditions all the way from Belleville to the city centre. Probably the mining indaba at CTICC having a part to play in that as well as your off-ramp into that city centre area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, straight to your calls. Loyiso in the Eastern Cape. Good morning to you. Short and sharp, please. Loyiso?
I want to put this position to most people who have got this attitude against the migrants.
Yes.
Firstly, I don't think we have a moral position here and an intellectual position to be debating from. Firstly, in every country, immigrants are entitled to health care, whether paid or not paid, but you go to a healthcare institution when you are sick in any country.
Mm-hmm.
It is only recently in the U.S. where the immigrant officials hang around places like healthcare and workplaces to try and weaponize people's issues.
Mm.
So, starting from that premise, when you come to our situation here, most of our illegal immigrants are SADC people. We have a free visa movement arrangement within the SADC.
Yes.
So we should not be then having a problem of a Mosotho or a Zimbabwean person being illegal or a Mozambican person. The fact that that person is here illegally, it is because of a bureaucratic blunder. In the case of Zimbabwe, for example, it's very expensive to have a passport.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if he had a passport, he would just easily walk in, come have a breakfast in Messina, buy petrol, and travel back.
I hear you. So we're not thinking about these issues from a regional perspective, how to better manage migration and the flow and travel of people across the region.
Yes, basically the agreements are already there. We have a free movement issue. The fact that the person doesn't have the papers doesn't change anything.
All right.
And so basically, when these people are in the country, they are entitled to health care. I guess the government then can just go further and say, when a Zimbabwean, they have an arrangement with Zimbabwe, when a Zimbabwean happens to fall ill in South Africa, we will take the bill back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I understand that they pay for non-emergency services anyway.
All right. Loyiso, thank you for bringing that perspective in. That's Loyiso in the Eastern Cape. Sipho, are you in Vikings? Where is Vikings?
Where you used to
You
stay.
told me actually, now I remember.
Yes, thank you, Mnguni. Thank you, Mnguni. Mnguni, let us cut the matters short here.
Yes.
Indaba the foreigners, big and stuff like that. Let our government come in with the solution now. They must come with refugee camp. Finishing clear. Izolungisa yonke lento lena ekhona Mnguni. Because every country, even the Zimbabweans and stuff, banama refugee camp. It's only us who do not have.
All right.
So,
thank you, Sipho.
Mphumile-ke lapho Mnguni. Mnguni ngicela namhlanje I want to acknowledge ubaba uVusamazulu Credo Muthu for speaking things zingekenzeki and they happen.
Yeah.
I also want to acknowledge Nostradamus.
Yes.
So today I'm adding Ubabu Lucas Mangope Mnguni.
Yes.
He says, Livotela mapantiti banak, but lechulisutla. It's happening today.
Right.
So he falls kulento yabantu abadala abakhuluma into ziyenzeka.
Yeah.
Ngi-ede futhi elinye ihlanhliziyo the apartheid activist. Uzonda abantu abamnyama ngendlela eyisimanga Mnguni. Uthi, do not be afraid to give Bantu power to run the country, because Bantu will give it back to you. For Bantu cannot survive without a master. They are like monkeys.
I'm listening.
So,
yeah.
yes. So, ipoint yami ukuthi njengoba ubona today there's GNU mkhulu. Ivusa umuntu olele. Ivusa an apartheid activist leyo nkulumo. Ukuthi uke wathi nakho namhlanje sithe sihlanganise amavote sahlanganani bantu abamnyama balanda ikhuwa avuka amagama we apartheid umuntu okade ezonda abantu abamnyama Mnguni. So that is how deep this GNU is.
All right.
To me Mnguni.
All right, Sipho, I've got to move on. I've heard you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's Sipho out in Vikings there, invoking quite a number of people that he says foretold some of the events that we are now living through in the country, some of the misgovernance that we are seeing, saying that it was foretold by the people that he mentions there. Let me take a few of your messages as well.
I respectfully disagree with Ukaya Thulasizwe. Good morning, because he's basically implying that we should accept those areas like Hillbrow and Durban, South Beach, and just surrender them to foreign nationals by implication. So why should they not go to those places? Because those places are still South African spaces for South Africans. So why should we surrender them? And I don't agree totally.
Morning to us. On the issue of Kaya, I don't think Operation Dula can go to the epicenter without having support from us. We're supporting from distance. Like me, I'm in the Pompo, but I do like the movement, but I don't be part of them. Number two, they don't have the support from the SAPS. The government officials, they even come with any SAPS to protect them or to protect the country, including the comrades. Even the president never gave an executive order regarding to those people, because to him, he's just looking at the GPS of this country so that the economy can grow. He doesn't care.
I just want to ask, is there any country in the continent that has got 27,000 foreign prisoners in their country except South Africa? Then we must keep quiet. Did they just drag them to the prison for nothing? It means they committed crimes and must still get away. We can't fold our hands and leave our country to go to the foreigners. And Inamas from Soweto. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, and thank you for listening. Thank you for your engagement. It's amazing how one call changed it all. One call from Kaya. That's what we are all about, though. I mean, we heard Kaya out, and I heard a lot of you disagreeing, a few agreeing with Kaya. But in that friction, I think we were able to sharpen each other's perspectives on this hot button issue, migration, and how to manage it in our country. We've got to leave it there. The talking point with KG Mwekezi is coming up next after the news at 9 with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, Primrose residents protest over collapse of scholar transport services and University of the Western Cape in the fight against hunger. Good morning. Residents from Primrose in Germiston on the Gauteng East Rand have taken to the streets, blockading roads with burning tyres in protest over the collapse of scholar transport services in the province. School transport operators halted bus services 2 weeks ago after months of non-payment by the Gauteng Department of Education, leaving thousands of learners stranded. Residents say the shutdown is jeopardizing children's education. Nomtsikilelo Mtavela reports.
The protest highlights the frustration of both parents and operators. Parents demanding reliable transport for their children and operators insisting they cannot continue running services without being paid. A 2-week scholar transport strike has paralyzed Gauteng schools, leaving a staggering 200,000 learners stranded. The Gauteng Small Bus Operators Council remains in deadlock with the Education Department, a move that has effectively halted learning for tens of thousands since last Monday.
The EFF says the testimony of independent forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan before Parliament's ad hoc committee today could shed some light on the broader network of political interference within the criminal justice system. O'Sullivan initially requested to appear before the committee virtually, citing safety concerns. The committee has indicated strict security arrangements will be upheld during his appearance. EFF MP Sinau Tambo.
He's posed as a forensic investigator, he's posed as a private investigator, as someone has influence within law enforcement. There's been instances where he poses as someone who works at IPID. So I think he's been central to a network of imposters within the law enforcement infrastructure in South Africa. I think he's going to reveal a lot if he's going to take the oath seriously. I don't think there was any difference between Paul O'Sullivan and Brown Mokgotsi other than the color of their skin. They are both imposters. They are people who have faked it until they made it. And I think Paul O'Sullivan caused much more damage than Mokgotsi. I want to find out how much damage that was over the next 2 days.
Suspended